Good morning. Good afternoon, good evening. I am not feeling good. Why? Because I started getting hiccups 5 minutes before the stream started. And I feel like these hiccups are not gonna go away. And I'm gonna be honest with you. Hiccups, to me, do a lot of damage to my chest. So I'm gonna be in a lot of pain soon. Especially if these hiccups don't want to stop. So why am I still continuing to stream? Because I didn't stream yesterday. Because I fell asleep immediately when I got home. But I also wanted to continue with this game too, so in my head, I was like, I want to do an Undertale stream today too. And then I didn't. Because I went to take a nap at like 11 o'clock. Then I woke up at like 4, and I'm like, my god, where'd my time go? Anywho, welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, but we're playing Resolve. We're starting Case 2 now. Episode 2 with Hiccup Edition. So, let's get started. How's everyone doing, by the way? God. The memories of the clouded heart. Go. Oh, these hiccups are annoying.
It was a ghastly tale of a winter's night. one of an invisible killer and a crime perpetrated on the pavement along Briar Road. As the victim lay at death's door, the mystery of just who had stabbed the young lady from behind had been resolved. But no sooner had my friend saved that Eastern Exchange student from his harrowing plight.
Wait a minute.
Then in the dim, flickering shadows of gaslight did a second bizarre crime rend the stillness of that very night. I dare say most can still recall the sensational headlines of the day. Haunted apartment of death, the condemned criminal's curse, the dread demon of coal gas. Yet, though the great detective had at once discerned the truth upon his arrival at the scene, it only proved to be the overture that announced the rising of the curtain on a most tragic play.
Is this the second case that we never actually got to see? With Mr. Natsumi? I think that was his name. Oh god. My name is Ryo Nasuki Naruhodo. I'm a fledgling lawyer just starting out on my journey. 6 months ago, I arrived as a visiting student of law, having made the long voyage across the sea from the Empire of Japan to here, London, England. And on the way, and in quite extraordinary circumstances, I made the acquaintance of a world-famous detective. Ugh. Sorry, I had to blow my nose there. Because the hiccups are doing two things right now. Well, actually three things. They're making me cough. That's one. The second thing they're doing is they're making me need to blow my nose more. And the third thing they're doing is it's hurting my, it's hurting my chest. Man, I feel like it'd be easier just to go and throw up. Unfortunately, I have not learned the magic of self-throw up. So I'm gonna have to just sit through this. Currently, I reside in the attic of the detective's own lodgings from where I run my legal consultancy of sorts. I've successfully defended a number of clients in Britain's highest court, the Old Bailey. But since a particularly grueling and unforgettable legal battle 4 months ago now, I haven't returned to the courtroom. In truth, I lost my right to return. Huh? But that epic trial was just one small part of an epic tale, a tale of which was now about to awaken from slumber, thanks to a letter that arrived this morning from my homeland. Ace Attorney is a story game? Yeah, it's also... You could argue that it's a visual novel game and a court game. I thought it was a game about fighting in court. It is. But it's a visual novel game that takes place in court. Rumble. What a delicious smell wafting up the stairs. It must be nearly time for breakfast. I better go down to see Mr. Shomesweet and say good morning to the great detective and his flatmate. Flatmate? Iris? Yeah, I've seen the court part. I guess the second game is a bit different. This game is like, shit, I don't even know. Maybe like the 9th game in the series? 10th game? Hell, it could even be the 11th game. Or the memes that are completely ruining it. Come on, the memes are the best part about Ace Attorney. Especially when you have the Discord memes, where it's a bunch of Ace Attorney characters fighting it out in court. There was a conversation that happened in Discord. That is fucking fantastic. Also, get well soon. Gordon, the only thing that I need to hopefully get better soon is my hiccups go away. It looks like they might have gone away, which is fantastic. I was really concerned I'd be stuck with the hiccups all bloody night, but they're gone. Woo! There's a bunch of people fighting and debating in the Discord. That's crazy. Okay, you gotta. There's a video I need to send you at some point. Then, because what people do is they turn like stupid Discord conversations that I've seen into an Ace Attorney meme thing. It's very funny. They're very funny. I love those. I'll show you one when I get the chance. I have to find the video again, though, because I don't know where it is. Is the ocean a soup? The ocean is a soup. Yeah, the ocean is a soup. It's got leaves, it's got organics, it's got meat. The only thing missing is that it's not hot. 30th of August, 7:28 a.m., Shom's Suite. Ah, Runo, good. I was just about to call up to you. The bacon's ready. Good morning, Iris. It smells delicious as usual. Before we eat, though, I have some news. I had a surprise this morning. Shh, not another word, Mr. Naruhodo. This could be just the abstruse thing for my pre-breakfast stagnation-repelling mental stimulation, my dear fellow. Morning to you too, Mr. Shomes. Indeed, you can have cold soup. Okay, hold on. I'll send you a video I saw on Discord. Watch it later. Sure, I'll watch it later. But yeah, no, I don't want cold soup. If I'm thinking about soup, I'm thinking about chicken noodle soup. Nom. Ah, yes, I see. So that's... Get away, stop getting closer, Shomes. The truth is as clear to me as day. My faculties of observation have revealed it again. What are you talking about? You, Mr. Naruhodo, you have, this very morning, met with a surprise. I was literally just about to say that. Well, is that not the case? Really, my dear fellow, it barely warrants explanation. Firstly, your hair is particularly unkempt, somewhat reminiscent of a bird's nest. Secondly, you have neglected to fasten the third button of your jacket. Clearly, when considered together, these two facts point to you having been flustered this morning. Can I talk now? But of course! Though I don't look for admiration, you understand. My hair always looks like this. It's been this way since I first met you. Oh, it has? And the button was ripped off last night, if you remember. By you. Harley pulled your button off? Ah, yes, I recall the incident now. It was after supper, was it not? And as the evening advanced, I picked up my violin and began to play the wailing notes of a haunting tune. But then, to my utter dismay, the third string snapped! Why did it have to happen? Why? Little wonder then, that in my vexation, I grabbed the first button I saw and ripped it off from its proper place. Well, I'd like it back now, please. It's troubling me that I can't fasten my jacket. And it's troubling me that you expect me to know where it is. Somewhere thereabouts on the floor, one presumes. Helpful. This motherfucker. What matters at the present time, my dear fellow, is simply whether or not my deduction was unerring. But Hurley, Reno said it when he came in, didn't he? I had a surprise this morning. Wow, that really is a surprise. Yes, this man is the pride of the British Empire. The famous consulting detective, Mr. Herlock Sholmes. There can't be a single person in the world who doesn't know his name. Except for those who haven't played Ace Attorney. Alright then, enough of this silly conversation. Come and eat this bacon before it gets cold. And I have a new herbal tea for you to try too. My latest special blend. And here we have Iris Wilson, Mr. Sholmes' lodger and companion. Hold on, I have a court record. Oh, I still have the same thing. Can I look at this at all? Oh yeah, I could. Oh, so you have a scale balance? You have scale balances in Japan too, do you? Well, yes, but nothing like the Old Bailey's huge example. The thing about those scales, is they're only ever in the balance right at the start of a trial, aren't they? Otherwise, they always seem to be hanging one way or another. I noticed that exact same thing. Good old scales of justice. Oh! Is this Japanese kanji script embroidered here? That's right, the name of the armband's owner. Ah, so that's how you write Naruto, is it? Actually, no. It's my best friend's name, not mine. It's pronounced Kazuma Asogi. I actually believe this armband in some way embodies his spirit, you see. So you have to write all those lines just for one person's name? Kanji is funny. Oh, Iris, you have no idea. That's right. Never mind my feelings about my best friend. It's lines I really want to talk about. Oof. And here we have Iris Wilson, Mr. Strome's lodger and companion. A truly exceptional young girl who's the author of a highly successful serialization here in London. Yes, The Adventures of Herlock Sholmes, as published in Rance Magazine. Is Rance Magazine an actual thing in Britain? I actually wonder if that's actually like a real thing. So, a cat hair just popped up in my fucking face, and my cat is sleeping, as you can clearly see. So, Mr. Naruhodo, won't you put us out of our misery? What surprised you this fine morning? Ah, well, I received a letter from Japan. Oh, from Susie, you mean? Was it really? That's right, and she had some rather startling news, in fact. Ah, intriguing indeed. You must tell us all about it over breakfast. Oh yes, what fun! Miss Susato's letter. Well, we know what to do. Let's get started. Looking around, get some answers, and then find out what our actual case is about. This is the letter that arrived from Japan this morning by international post. Oh, how lovely. Look at Susie's beautiful writing. I wish I could read it. And how is your judicial assistant faring, may I ask? She's very well, thank you. In fact, according to what she's written, she actually appeared as a lawyer at the Japanese Supreme Court and won a case. Ah, really? Oh, isn't she wonderful? And I was the one who helped. A cut above your good self, my dear fellow. I've won cases too, you know. Apparently, Mr. Natsumi appeared in a trial as a witness. Natsumi. No, I don't recall that name. Of course you do. We helped the man twice. You know, in those 2 cases that took place on Briar Road 6 months ago? Ah, the mustache twitchy man with the somewhat feline eyes and the mustache. He did have 2 mustaches, Hurley. Yes, who could forget those 2 cases? They made a very deep impression on me. Although, I must confess, the details are a little hazy now. A very deep impression they made on you, clearly. I don't even remember what other case you're talking about. I only know about the one case where we had to help Mr. Natsumi from, what was it? I don't even remember the details of that case, now that I think about it. If any of you remember the details of that case, feel free to bring it up, because I don't remember. So, what was this startling news penned by Miss Susato? Do you remember the case of the haunted lodgings, Mr. Sholmes? Ah, yes, it's very interesting, you know. I don't feel entirely uncertain that a case of that nature did not occur. He's totally forgotten, then. Anyway, in her letter, Miss Susato asked that we read over her case notes again and investigate further. Though it took place half a year ago? For what purpose? Because of something that Mr. Natsumi said to her, apparently. He suggested that the real reason why she was called back to Japan so suddenly might have something to do with that case of the haunted lodgings. Oh? On Mr. Natsumi's return to Japan, Miss Susato's father questioned him about the case, she says. And something Mr. Natsumi said appeared to trouble Professor Mikotoba, prompting him to send that telegram. Oh, that case, yes! It was very strange, wasn't it? Yes. And I have no idea what they're talking about. And I had compiled the whole story into a nice, neat manuscript ready for publication, too. But then Hurley here was all funny about it, remember? He was very mean. That story must not be published, you said, very mysteriously as well. Really? I said that. Are you sure? Do you perhaps know something about it as well, Mr. Sholmes? About why Miss Suzato was suddenly told 4 months ago that she had to return to Japan? Miss Susato's apparition. It's been 4 months now since we waved Susie off at Dover. Man, time flies. It was such a shock, wasn't it? The way she just suddenly announced that she had to go back to Japan. Indeed it was, due to a telegram she received from her homeland, I believed. That's right, telling her to return urgently. Yes, because her father had passed away. No! It just said he was suffering from a high fever, the cause of which was unknown. He's not dead. But according to this letter, that news about her father's fever was just a ruse. Yeah, that we figured out too. We don't know what the hell that man is hiding. A ruse? So Susie's daddy lied to her so that she'd make the voyage back home? Why would he do that? I have to admit, I have absolutely no idea, but she believes it's almost certainly related to the case of the haunted lodgings. Man, how deep is this gonna go then? If it's to the haunted lodgings, how far does it go? Summoning her back to Japan so suddenly like that, I wonder what Miss Susato's father is hiding. Hurley, do you know what it's all about? Where did you get that outfit back on? Ah, well, who can say? What? But you said... Please, I have engagements, my dear fellow. My calendar is quite surprisingly full today. Oh, shit. And a stringent analysis of the matter would be excessive, I feel. Even if I were quite at leisure. So, man the fort of my absence, won't you, Iris? I will, Hurley. Don't worry. See you later. What was that about? I kind of avoided the question. He scuttled off rather quickly there. I think perhaps Professor Mikotoba isn't the only person hiding something here. Sasaki-san was involved in 2 cases, but only one of them was forbidden from being published. By, of all people, Mr. Sholmes. Aha! I found them at last! Iris, are they... The notes about the case? That's right. Susie and I compiled them together. The case of the haunted lodgings. You want to read them, Bruno? Absolutely. Thank you, Iris. I have no idea what secrets could still be hiding in the shadows of this case. But perhaps if I read over the notes again, something might come to light. That's the spirit. Alright, what are we going to get from this? And so, Iris and I decided to read over the case notes again together. Everything from what happened to our investigation and that fierce battle in court that followed. Reliving every detail. I just need to find a clue, and I have all the time in the world. Because, of course, I'm no longer allowed to practice law in the courts of Great Britain. What the fuck happened? Why? What happened? It was 6 months ago, a mysterious incident that unfolded on the wintry streets of London. That's the case. I remember that case. A young woman was... Okay, now I remember the details of the case as soon as I see this fucking picture. A young woman was found lying on the snowy pavement of Briar Road with a knife in her back. Fortunately, her life was spared, but she was unconscious for several days following the incident. We never did get any answers with regards to her, at least. The fog was thick and nobody saw her attacker, but by a cruel twist of fate, a visiting Japanese student was walking behind her at the time and was duly arrested. Him, Mr. Natsumi. That man was Soseki-san, and the man who effected his arrest was Mr. Sholmes. Believing in our compatriot's innocence, Suzato-san and I decided to represent Sasaki-san in court, and after a grueling trial of many twists and turns, he finally managed to prove his innocence. Joyful joys, jubilant jubilation was the man's reaction after the trial, but his jubilant jubilation was short-lived. Yeah, we never saw a second case in the first game. Just interesting. I wonder why. We received a telegram from Mr. Sholmes the following morning. The victim of the Briar Road stabbing has regained consciousness. Hurry to Bart's at once. So Suzato-san and I summoned a handsome and headed immediately to the hospital. Handsome? 21st of February, 5:30 a.m. St. Bartholomew's Hospital, Recovery Ward. There you are at last! Good morning, Mr. Sholmes. Think not. Oh. You're late! What on earth took you so long? Your telegram only arrived at 5 o'clock, Mr. Sholmes, and it's a 20-minute ride to the hospital. That's right, and it's 5:30 now. I think we made very good time. The time is utterly irrelevant. The fact is, I have been waiting for what felt like an eternity. In point of fact, I myself was awoken at 4 this morning by a telegram boy. You guys see that mouse that's next to Luisa's head? What is that mouse doing there? And feeling it was somewhat unjust that I alone had been roused at such an hour, I sent one to you. Well, thanks for that. Anyway, you're here now, so the victim is over there. She's only just regained consciousness. You should introduce yourselves, and I shall observe from here. Thanks. So that's the lady who was found on the snow-covered pavement with the knife in her back. Her name is... Ah, yes, here we are, Miss Green. Did we even have a name? Also, what is this mouse doing over here? Eek! A mouse! Mr. Naruhodo, an enormous mouse! Vermin in a hospital? That doesn't seem the best. But it looks like a very healthy specimen, doesn't it? It's very plump. I'm not sure we can say that's down to the excellence of this facility, if that's what you were thinking. That doesn't answer any questions, though. That must be the bag of Miss Green's personal belongings. She would have been brought directly here after she was found stabbed on the pavement, though. I expect a friend or family member probably brought some things for her. Alright then, let's see what's inside. A change of clothes, no doubt, and we should not be looking inside a bag. No, Mr. Naruhodo, you must never scrutinize a young maiden's personal belongings. Even then, that's not the point. But the young maiden might have chocolates, or biscuits, or caramel? Ah, yes, Mr. Naruhodo with his, on-point assumption of what's in a bag. Ah, this looks like the patient's treatment notes. Let's see. Do not feed. What is this place? A zoo? You know, I seem to remember seeing an almost identical sign in our local park. For the pigeons, yes, this is a person. Poor woman, I hope she hasn't read this. This rounded wooden figure isn't the most charming, is it? Ah, I don't think that's a decoration, Mr. Naruhodo. It's an artist's mannequin, I believe, used when practicing sketching the human form in different poses. Really? It's not exactly what you call a typical figure for that purpose, though, is it? What are you guys trying to say over there? I suppose not. I confess I've never seen one quite so full-figured before. Well, if you want to draw a full-figured person, it's the right tool for the job. Look, there's a photograph in this frame here. Is that her husband? Oh yes, it's a picture of a young gentleman. It looks to be about the same age as Miss Green, I would say. Perhaps the young woman's special someone, do you think? My, Mr. Naruhodo, I didn't know you had such a sense of matters for the heart. Not in the least. I sincerely said the first thing I thought of. I would have said the exact same... I said the exact same thing. There are lots of bottles in that cabinet, aren't there? You think it's safe to keep them like that? If you were a patient here, I feel sure you'd take some medicine by mistake when you were half asleep. That is a worry. But at least the cabin has a lock, even if it's only a flimsy-looking one. Oh, I've no doubt you'd manage to unlock that somehow where you were half asleep as well. There are limits to even what I can do when I'm half asleep, you know, Miss Suzato. Good morning. Hello, I'm Ryonosuke Naruhodo from the Empire of Japan. Oh no, was it your knife that... Are you the man who... No, I'm a lawyer. And I'm Suzaru Mikotoba, pleased to meet you. Oh no, was it your knife then? Are you the one? No, I assure you, I'm Mr. Naruhodo's Jujitsu assistant. We heard that you'd regained consciousness and wanted to come give you our best wishes. Best wishes? For me? Thank you. I'm Olive Green. I'm an artist. What? She's an artist? Well, no, that's not right, is it? What I mean is, I'm trying to be an artist. Fair enough. Well, what I really mean is, I desperately want to be an artist, girl. Make up your mind. But the truth is, I don't have any talent. I know I don't. It's no wonder I was stabbed in the back. That's not how that works. I don't think that's related, actually. Gosh, this young woman seems to bend over backwards to put herself down. Seeing as we're here, we should ask her about what happened from her perspective, I suppose. Let's talk then. Also, why are you holding a key? To suddenly be struck in the back by a blade as you were walking along the pavement. What a terrible experience you had, Miss Green. It was so cold that day, and the fog was so thick. I couldn't see a thing. That was 4 days ago now, I think. Is that right? Yes, that's right. I'm afraid you've been comatose all that time. But the case has been solved, hasn't it? While I've been here in the hospital, I mean? Indeed it has, my dear madam, spectacularly, by none other than I, Herlock Sholmes. Mr. Sholmes, as you well know, it was Mr. Naruhodo's hard work in court that solved the case. Are you yet to hear what happened, Miss Green? Yes, I'm afraid so. A gentleman from the police force is supposed to be coming to fill me in shortly. Oh, I see. I wonder if it's, Gregson. Me coming round seemed to have made everyone frantically busy. I'm so sorry. I should never have regained consciousness. It was selfish of me. What the fuck? That's not how that works. Oh no, we're also relieved that you're on the mend, Miss Green. Really, we are. With that kind of attitude, maybe her surname should be Blue, not Green. Ah! That's a good one. That's a good one, Ryu. So, you're an artist, are you, Miss Green? Oh no, I couldn't possibly claim that. I'm a fledgling artist at best, and then she's gonna say no. I mean, I'm a student of art, really, at the Thorndike Academy of Fine Arts. Oh my, an Academy of Fine Arts! Great Britain is such a wonderful country. Tell me, Miss Green, do you live hereabouts? Oh no, actually, I don't deserve it, but I have a little flat on Brixton Road. I see. Oh, very interesting. Oh no, is it? Brixton is some 10 stops away on the underground from here, and Thorndike Academy is a mere 3-minute walk from Brixton Town Center. Does that matter, Mr. Sholmes? Perhaps not, but Briar Road is a far less salubrious part of the town by comparison, dwelt in by those of inferior means, including the maleficent Mr. Mustache. Inferior means, I suppose Soseki-san does fit the bill. I guess. It struck me as somewhat out of the ordinary for a young fine art student to be walking in such a district. That's all. What's this? She suddenly clammed up. Mr. Sholmes, you should be ashamed of yourself prying into a young maiden's private affairs. Oh dear me, do forgive me. If you don't mind, I'm being discharged shortly, so I need to pack up my things. Oh yes, of course, we won't keep you. Thank you so much, Miss Green. Is there a Mr. Narrow Fodder here? Mr. Narrow Fodder? Everyone fucks up his name. Narrow Fodder now? Well, if you're looking for Naruhodo, the lawyer, that's me, but... Ah, Mr. Narrow Fodder, good. This is for you. That's a message from Mr. Saucy Nutsmag. What? Mr. Natsumi? Sent a message to me? But why would a policeman be delivering a message from Mr. Natsumi? Exactly. What's going on? What's a Scotland Yard constable doing playing delivery boy at this time in the morning? Ah, what are you waiting for? Let me see that. Oh. Well, this is most unexpected. Is something wrong, Mr. Sholmes? Is something wrong, Mr. Sholmes, he says. Have you not seen this note? No, how could I have? You took it from my hands. It would seem that London's criminals have no intention of letting the great detective rest. Are you a moo? What? Are you amusing people? I hate that stupid heart in the chat. It gets in the way of me being able to see chat. I hope I'm amusing people. Hi, Nemi, by the way. How you doing? A new case calls. A case of murder, no less. We must depart at once. Murder? Murder? Call a cab. Time is of the essence. But the trouble is, you've yet to read Mr. Natsumi's note. I was thinking we ought to pay him a visit in his lodgings once we did. That would be entirely convenient. Convenient? What do you mean? Frustrated. The thing I did didn't work. It didn't? I was really certain it would. Try again. But in an hour. It's all here in the note, my dear fellows. The murder we must investigate took place at Mr. Mustache's lodgings. Wait, what? I'll hail a fart. I can't, for the love of God, I can't pronounce these words. Nah, I'm too high. What? Girl, you shouldn't be high. You should be, drink water. I'll hail a fiacre at once. Fiacre? 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 I can't pronounce that word, man. It was only yesterday that Soseki-san was in court and we were dispelling doubts about his innocence. And now, the very next day, there's a murder at the man's own address? He may very well be the unluckiest man alive. Or so it seemed to us at the time, but we were soon to discover it was worse than we thought. I did. Comfy time streamer. Whoop. Comfy time! Where the hell did Zoe go? She got up and then disappeared. 21st of February, 7:18 a.m. Mr. Latsubi's lodgings, ground floor. But what happened? What in the world happened? What on earth? Oh my, the gentleman is deceased without question. He's dead. The locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Mr. Natsubi. Oh, why? Why is this happening? Why to me? If I've only just got out of court yesterday, I was finally home after 2 days of misery. And then I wake up the next day to this. No early bird should catch a worm like this. Woeful worm without wiggle. This guy is gonna kill my voice. I see you're in high spirits again this morning, Mr. Mustache. Ah! Not the horrible hairlock Sholmes. Shoo! Shove off! Show yourself the door! I never invited you! Mr. Sholmes came here with us. I'm quite sure he'll be able to help you, Mr. Natsumi. I am entirely at your disposal, Mr. Mustache. What can I do for you? Tisk, here they are, already. The busybodies. Ah, Inspector Gregson, what a pleasant surprise. Pleasant, is it? It gives me heartburn every time I see your face at a crime scene shows. Ha! I deduce, Inspector, that your heartburn is a result of your excessive consumption of fried food. Good morning, Inspector. This is a crime scene. Don't you go touching anything. Or good morning to you too, Sunshine. Jesus, what the fuck happened, man? Oi, I said hands off. You're gonna mess up my crime scene. Oh, no, I just wanted to look, that's all. No chance, I know you're kind. You'll mess it up by looking at it. That's how it works. Ugh, someone's in a bad mood. There's certainly some bad air in here, isn't there? Alright, it sounds like I'd better talk to the inspector first and try to curry some favor. Fine. Well, yeah, it marks everything as unable to be looked at. That's funny. Alright, Inspector, what the fuck? So, Inspector, what was the victim's name? Who was he? Mr. William Shamspeare? Mr. William Shamspeare. He was a lodger here. As you can probably tell, he was an actor. A bit of a dead loss, as it happens, or just dead. Mr. Shamspeare. Mr. Shamspeare? Why that name? Of all the names they could have picked. Shamspeare? It was the landlord, old Mr. Garrideb, and the other lodger, Mr. Natsumi, who found him. Fella didn't rise at his usual hour, so Garrideb got worried and kicked the door down. But doesn't Mr. Garrideb have a bad leg? Ah, yeah, you're right there. It was the jittery Japanese hunchback over there who actually did the kicking. Really? So Seki-san? The victim was pretty hard up, it seems, even done some time inside for petty crimes. He had no money, no place to go, and no friends. His only acquaintance were the people in his house. Miserable life and a miserable end to it. Damn, dude. So, what exactly is Mr. Natsumi still doing here? He's not involved in the investigation, so shouldn't you have sent him away from the crime scene? Well, I'm not saying it's because the fellow looks odd or anything, or that he acts suspicious, but I thought it would be prudent to take a statement from the cohabitator. This motherfucker's already trying to pin it on him. You nearly said culprit there, didn't you? Hi, Zoe. Oh dear. Mr. Natsumi appears to be under suspicion again. It certainly seems that way. He does just come across as such an odd fellow, doesn't he? Poor man. How unfortunate. Bruh. Anyway, I can't say much until the coroner gets here. But I don't think the fella's been a goner that long. The body's still warm. Even if the inspector would allow it, I don't think I could bring myself to touch a dead body. Mr. Natsumi? What a terrible thing to have happened. It's only been 3 days since I was arrested for the incident on the pavement outside. And then, having finally regained my freedom, it starts happening all over again. Endless existence of excruciating experiences. That's a really good way of putting it. So, the victim lived here on the ground floor, and your room is just 1 story up, isn't it? Yes, that's right. In a way, we were neighbors, I suppose. So, did you know the victim? Were you friends? So, Seki-san, you really are a fucking suspicious individual. Can you stop that? Bruh! I just said stop being suspicious! What's the matter with Soseki-san now? It was an innocent enough question, wasn't it? Why does he seem so shaken by it? Well, I suppose he wasn't a complete stranger. But did he ever invite me to his room? Never! On my honor, I swear it. What an extreme reaction. You're probably wishing you'd never asked now, aren't you, Mr. Naruhodo? When we found him here, I felt wretched, which is why I sent word asking you to come. Through that inspector... Wait, through that inspector over there. Oh. What are you doing over there, Sholmes? What is that JoJo... This fucking JoJo pose. Alright, Sholmes, what do you have to say, Mr. JoJo posing man? Mr. Sholmes, what are you doing? Hi, Zoe. I see you decided to take residence in front of me. Oh, you just want pets again. She loves the pets behind her ears. She loves them. Ain't that right, Zoe? However, the trade-off is you stop seeing my VTuber model move around, so, I mean, it's a good trade-off, right? It's a pretty good trade-off. Mr. Sholmes, what are you doing? Ha! You need only observe to know it, my dear fellow. Investigating, naturally. There's nothing natural about that pose. Mr. Sholmes, have you made some miraculous discovery? Patience, my dear madam, patience. We've not been here in this room 5 minutes. So far, all I've managed to deduce is what actually happened. Bullshit. My goodness. But isn't it everything we need to know, Mr. Sholmes? Now that you propose the idea, I believe one could indeed see it that way. At the present time, I have managed to draw 2 incontrovertible conclusions. I swear to God, that word is so annoying to say. The first, there was a physical struggle here last night in which the victim fought for his life. What? Why did you, Mr. Natsumi? What's wrong? Is something that Mr. Sholmes said significant somehow? No, don't mind me. Forget I was here. Dude, his eyes! His eyes! What are you doing, Zoe? What are you doing besides being a cute cat? What is it with Mr. Natsumi, dude? And my second conclusion is that there was a poison lingering in the air here just last night that passed the victim's lips. Nonsense! What the fuck? Alright, Mr. Natsumi, why are you reacting so extremely to Mr. Sholmes' deductions? No, please, pretend I'm not here. Invisible, ineffable, inscrutable, insignificant. Impossible to ignore. You must tell us everything, Mr. Sholmes. Spare no detail. But of course, let the theatrical tragedy before us be unraveled by my great deductions, presented for your pleasure in 2 acts. We've heard some truly astounding great deductions from Mr. Sholmes in the past. No doubt this will be no exception. What miracle will unfold before our eyes this time? I have to read OBS. I have to read the screen on OBS because my cat's blocking a lot of it. So, my dear fellows, for your delight and wonder, let the curtain rise. For Herlock Sholmes' Logic and Reasoning Spectacular, Act 1. Oh, the great deduction! The game is afoot! Cause of death. Apparently poison. Careful observation of the victim reveals to us the events that transpired in this disconsolate room last night. Foam at the mouth of the deceased clearly indicates the use of poison. Next to the victim, we notice a large dining plate, which contains, you will observe, is that cake? 1/2 of a sizable bar of soap. Meaningful, indubitably. Why is this soap set so purposefully upon the dish? Like the victim's last supper, in fact, yes. Could it be that the man was about to eat it? Of course, the fork reveals the answer. Even Soseki-san's looking at me like, why would you eat soap? It appears that the young man's appetite was his undoing. Taking up arms in the form of his cutlery, the victim engaged in a deadly battle for his life. Yet the struggle against his hunger was in vain, for in the end he couldn't resist devouring the slippery feast. But London's foul soup is besmirched by foul poison. Yes, the victim's life was claimed by poison that tainted the contents of the plate. The soap and the lather about the young man's mouth are too perfectly matched to ignore. Cause of death was clearly intoxication due to an excessive ingestion of foul soap. Though, personally, I have a greater interest in the taste of foul candle wax, of course. Okay then. Poisoning from soap ingestion. Suicide or murder? Question mark. The cause of death identified, we proceed to Act 2, where we ponder the next question. Was this suicide or murder? Mr. Natsumi, what the hell, man? The audience will recall that death occurred during the victim's Last Supper. Did the man dine and die alone? The single teacup suggests the answer. To draw a conclusion on such meager evidence would be foolish, however, certainly. The careful criminal could have absconded with his own cup to cover his tracks. Well, allow me to lift the veil of doubt, my dear fellow. Indeed, what reveals the answer, of course, is the broken lock. It's because he kicked the door in. Though forced open, at the time of the incident, this door was locked. And the sole key was in the victim's pocket. In other words, when the victim consumed the poison, he must have been alone. Alone with his inferior soup from whence wafted an inferior scent. And with that acrid aroma lingering in the air, the victim met his end in tragic solitude. We can take comfort only in the fact that his soul was cleansed on its way to the hereafter. No possible perpetrator present. I like that one. Thus concludes the final act of Herlock Sholmes' great deduction. So are you done standing in front of my screen? Even Gregson listened to that. There's just one thing, Mr. Sholmes. You are disposed to identifying just one thing, aren't you, Mr. Naruhodo? Pray, what concerns you? Well, no matter how hungry he was, do you really think the man would have eaten soap? It is quite apparent that this man had barely a penny to his name. It is a curious thing, but to one so destitute, soap can suddenly appear quite irresistibly appetizing. How extraordinary. Don't encourage him! In truth, I've tried a little soap myself in the past. You've eaten it, you mean? My dear fellow, it was some time ago now. My postulation was that it would cleanse my gut. God. And did it? As I writhed in agony on the floor and spilt the contents of my stomach, yes, I believe it did. As I writhed in agony on the floor and spilt the contents of my stomach, yes, I believe it did. The experience taught me a valuable lesson. Soap is quite poisonous. It has an unpleasant taste and leads to great discomfort. In summary, I cannot recommend it. Believe me, I wouldn't eat it, even if you did. There's something that troubles me as well, actually. Oh, what's that? It's Mr. Natsumi. I couldn't help noticing him shuddering and quivering out the corner of my eye. Almost as if Mr. Sholmes' deductions touched a nerve somehow. Nonsense. Wow, that was... Wow, that clenched teeth episode didn't last. There we go, so we moved. I think, judging by Mr. Natsumi's reaction, the great detective's deductions may need some gentle corrections in order to reach the actual truth. Yes, Mr. Sholmes' observations and deductions are sometimes a little too sharp. He has a tendency to hit the nail on the side of the head and drive it into an obtuse angle. When he does that, it falls to us to straighten things out. Alright then, let's see what we can do. Yes, we must pick out the key words of Mr. Sholmes' quite brilliant deductions, and discreetly exchange them for something that makes a little more sense. If we can do that, I'm sure we'll arrive at what Mr. Sholmes meant to say in the first place, by fucking making Mr. Natsumi a prime suspect. I hope not. In that case, are you ready for the second performance of the day? Once again, my dear fellows, for your continued delight and wonder, let the curtain rise. For Herlock Sholmes' Logic and Reasoning Spectacular, Act 1. Course correction! Hold it, Mr. Sholmes! Hold it! Alright, so we saw this. He died from poison. And then he ate soap, which is completely false. I don't want to double read it though, so... Could it be the man was about to eat it? Of course, the fork reveals the answer. Well, you can't deny that a fork implies the man was eating something, or about to eat something. Yes, that's true. If I were to decide to eat some soap, I should prefer to use a fork than to attempt it with chopsticks. And, of course, only half of the bar of soap is left on the plate. But might there be some other explanation? Something material that proves whether or not the man really ate some soap. Damn. Why is there another bar of soap over here? Look, there's more soap on the floor here. Mr. Shamspeare. I can't take the name Shamspeare seriously. Mr. Shamspeare must have really loved that stuff. Let's not jump to conclusions, Mr. Naruhodo. Look closely at this soap. Do you see that it would fit together perfectly with the half bar on the table? What the? How can that be? I think that they are two halves of the same bar that broke apart. Yeah, but what does that mean? You think he was drinking tea with his soap? The cup's empty, so there's no way of knowing. Ah, how about this for an idea? Perhaps the cup was full of water, and he was dissolving soap in it so he could gulp down as much as possible. Please remember that he may not actually have been the soap lover that he's been made out to be. I suppose you'd eat soap with a fork, would you? I don't think it's a question of which implement you'd use. You shouldn't eat soap full stop. But then why? Why does this man have a fork in his hand? Oh dear, I understand your frustration, Mr. Naruhodo, but please don't take it out on me. The point is, if we decide the man used this fork to eat the soap, we wouldn't be changing Mr. Strome's deduction. So we really ought to consider some other clues. This is a weird one. This is a very weird one, only because it's like... Could it be the man was about to eat it? I don't know. The only other thing I could point to is that other fucking bar of soap. Do I dare present that? I mean, I don't think I have lives. What? Okay, that doesn't make any sense. Could it be that the man was about to eat it? Of course, the other piece of soap reveals the answer. It being the other half of the soap on the table, in short, the victim was not eating soap at all. But it's obvious, really, for no depths of hunger could drive any man to attempt to eat soap. Even I, with my unquenchable thirst for practical knowledge, took only a single bite. But that begs the question of how the man was poisoned, because there's no sign of any food on the table. An excellent observation, Mr. Naruhodo, and one that furnishes us with the answer we seek. For London's foul soap is besmirched by foul poison. Yes, the victim's life was claimed by poison that tainted the contents of the plate. Mr. Sholmes is still pushing the soap argument, then. Perhaps he's just suggesting the man licked the soap rather than ate it? Well... If soap in London is that poisonous, I don't think I want to be washing my hands with it. There are no signs of any food in this room at all. Of course, food isn't the only thing that passes people's lips, is it? The only other thing I could point to would be whatever the hell this thing is. What is that? Do I guess look at the fork again? I don't know. If the victim didn't eat the soap, then what did he eat? Yes, it's a real mystery, isn't it? Ah, I've got it. He wasn't interested in eating the soap at all. It was this fork he wanted to satisfy his hunger with. No! Mr. Naruhodo, I really don't think it's helpful to continue with this line of reasoning that the gentleman had particular tastes. Suzato-san had such a gentle way of words, but I know what I've been told off. Yes, a Western vessel for the serving of infusions of dried tea leaves. It's a teacup, Mr. Naruhodo, as you well know. Stop putting on airs. And it's empty. Ah, so we've already established that the victim wasn't eating soap when he died. However, there's significant evidence to suggest that he was drinking tea. My thoughts exactly. That's the only thing I can hope, though. Unless I want to talk about the soap. The contents of the plate is just the soap again, isn't it? Well, you know there's a saying in Japanese, don't you? If your food is poison, you might as well eat it, plate and all. Well, there's an image. All I can picture now is the victim first taking a bite of the soap, and then the plate. The soap is like some tofu, and the plate like a giant rice cracker. Oh dear, that sounds like a very bland combination. It doesn't sound appetizing, even in the slightest. There's literally nothing else for me to poke except for the fucking teacup. Yes, the victim's life was claimed by poison that tainted the teacup. Indeed, cups have been the vessel of choice for practicing poisoners over the centuries, and there are some very interesting devices you can use to, like, get poison into a cup. Saw a lot of videos, like, on YouTube about it. And it would appear that this victim drank every last drop. There's no sign of food anywhere in the room, which leads us to the immutable conclusion. The cause of death was clearly intoxication due to the ingestion of poison contained in this teacup. Poison in the tea, and the tea. I guess I can go with that, but how did the poison get there? The cause of death identified. We proceed to Act 2, where we ponder the next question. Was this suicide or murder? The audience will recall that death occurred during the victim's last supper. Did the man dine and die alone? This single teacup suggests the answer. Ah, the Western vessel for infused hot drinks again. It's already featured heavily in our deduction so far. Yes, we can imagine that shortly before his death, Mr. Shamspeare was having a drink of tea. There would be nothing remarkable about that, but what troubles me is Mr. Natsume's reaction when he heard Mr. Shum suggested. There's more to this deduction than it seems. We must closely examine the scene of the crime again for some more clues. There's another teacup in his hand? What was that other teacup in there? It's another Western vessel for... It's a teacup! I can imagine Suzato yelling at Ryu for this one. Like, you motherfucker! I'm gonna smack you over the fucking head. It's a teacup! And it too is empty. Given that he's actually holding this in one hand, given that he's actually holding this one in his hand, we can assume that this is the cup from which Mr. Shamspeare was actually drinking. But if that's the case, this changes everything. Everything we've deduced up till now is turned on its head. I have a bad feeling about this. I almost don't want to say it. Yes, I know exactly how you feel. Oh, you poor Mr. Natsume.
Take that!
It's gonna happen again. We're literally implicating him. Did the man dine and die alone? This other teacup suggests the answer. Zoe is again in front of me. Yes, there were 2 teacups in this room all along. Ah. In other words, this is a strong indication at the victim's last supper, there was a guest present. At the very least, we can say now with certainty that somebody else was here in this room last night, drinking tea with the victim. Hi, Zoe. It's so cute when she, like, grabs my hand with her paw. And now she's biting me. Zoe! Zoe, Zoe! Why are you biting harder? I'm just trying to pet you. Ow! Ow! What are you doing? Stop it, Zoe! Zoe, 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 Zoe. What are you doing, Zoe? She's like debating on like biting my hand, licking my fingers. Alright. Somebody else was here in this room last night taking tea with the victim. What are you talking about? Utterly, unbelievably, unjustly unreasonable. To draw a conclusion on such meager evidence would be foolish, however, certainly. In which case, what more can we deduce about this possible guest at the table? Well, allow me to lift the veil of doubt, my dear fellow. Do you mean to say you know who exactly was in this room at the time of the victim's death? Indeed, what reveals the answer, of course, is the broken lock. I'm not sure I like where this deduction is going now. I'm afraid it's too late to go back to the halcyon days of eating too much soap. But the identity of the guest who was here last night when the victim passed away is something I have a very bad feeling about. Now, you can try to ignore your feelings, but we cannot ignore the truth, Mr. Naruhodo. No, I suppose not. Time to look around again. So we got a fucking broken lock. But what the hell's a candle doing here? Even Mr. Shamspear didn't eat candles, it seems. We've already established that he didn't eat soap either. Do you think perhaps the guest brought this candle here last night? Even if he or she did, does it reveal anything about the guest's identity? Good point. There goes my idea, snuffed out like the candle will be. If you sigh so deeply, Mr. Naruhodo, you're in danger of blowing out the flame. Alright, empty bottle. What do we got? It's empty. Empty of liquid, but full of air. That makes you think, doesn't it? It makes me think that you're full of hot air. We should be thinking about who else was in this room at the time. Bother. Suzato-san's quip in response was cleverer than my original winner. The pile of books. Is this... At first glance, it seems that the only thing in this room are the makeshift stage and the costumes. I overlooked these 3 books initially. I wonder what they are. Let's see. The titles read... The Picture of... Oh, no. I like how my memory immediately remembers the first name of the book. And then as soon as it said Canterbury, I'm like, oh, fuck. A meal... Oh, great. Wait. I'm sure I've heard those titles before. It could just be an incredible coincidence, but they're the exact same 3 books that Mr. Natsumi purchased the other day. What? Yes, on the day of the unfortunate incident when Miss Green was stabbed. Soseki-san had just been to a bookshop and bought them, that's right. And now those 3 titles are here in the room of the victim. Yet Mr. Natsumi claims never to have been here before. What does this mean, do you think? I really don't know what to make of it. Pile of familiar books. Okay, well, GG. Mr. Natsumi, we can't... we can't do anything about this now. Indeed, what reveals the answer, of course, is the pile of familiar books. Quite so, it's no mere coincidence that these 3 titles are here in this room. It's the link to the truth. By the way, I feel like that's the first time they've updated the name of one of these things. I wonder if they're going to bring that more often in later cases. Mr. Natsumi, you purchased these books 4 days ago at a second-hand bookshop. That's just a coincidence. Quinkydink. In that case, you will be able to bring the same 3 titles from your own room, will you not? This very moment. The fuck, man? No, never. Non-negotiable. You can't bring your own copies here. Prove that these 3 books are in fact yours. Having purchased the books 4 days ago and returned to your lodgings, you were arrested the very next day. So you could conceivably have brought the books here on that evening, but you never mentioned that. In other words, you could only have brought these 3 books here to the victim's room. The little dancing. Last night, having returned to your lodgings after the trial concluded at the Old Bailey, in short, there is only one possible conclusion. The victim died here in this room last night as a result of poisoning. And that same night, the victim had a visitor. And that visitor was you, Mr. Soseki Natsumi. Thank you, Zoe, for that wonderful meow. Thus concludes the final act of Herlock Sholmes' great deduction. Elementary, my dear boy. Elementary, my dear cow. Not again, not again, not again. Not again! Well then, Mr. Natsumi. It would appear you're gonna have to accompany me down to the yard. Again. But wait! Hold your horses! Yes? Door! Key! Locked! Entry! Exit! Entirely impossible! He's so flustered, he's even being stranger than normal. What, you think that's an alibi? You could just have made a copy. What? You live in the same building after all. You'd have plenty of opportunity, I'm sure. What? Misery me! Sorry, sir. You'll get your chance to give your side of the story later. Facts speak for themselves, Mr. Mustache. Arrgh, you horrible Herlock Sholmes! He really has found himself an art rival now, hasn't he? Come on now, no dilly-dallying. Outside, there's a carriage waiting. Poor dude. Mr. Student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. I never imagined I'd be in this position again, but... You have to help me! Please! Please! I'm innocent! Alright, I understand. We'll come to your cell later and talk about it. And one more thing. Oh, yes? My poor little kitty cat. Please give him his breakfast for me. He's got his priorities straight, man. And so, his evil curse still apparently unbroken. Soseki-san found himself once again the prime suspect in a case of murder. How is one man this unfucking lucky? You would think he'd have immunity at some point. Thanks to the incriminating deduction of the great detective. My dear fellow, that honor belongs to you. I was gonna say, Nuriya, you can't escape this. You helped. Damn. Well, at least that means Inspector Gregson is no longer here. Not how I imagined he would leave. We can examine the crime scene in more detail now. Yes, that's right. And of course... what? Have you forgotten what the inspector mentioned before? It was the landlord, Mr. Garadeb, who discovered Mr. Shamspear. Ah, Mr. John Garadeb, yes. I expect we could find him in his sitting room on the top floor as usual. Right, we must remember to go talk to him later then. Wait, what? I have this stuff? Wait, can I examine this again? I'm right in thinking that these scales are a symbol of defense and law, aren't they? They're supposed to symbolize treating everything equally and fairly. That's why they're always in the middle, balanced, equal measures on both sides. Recently, though, whenever I see a set of scales, I can only think of the enormous scales of justice. That's entirely understandable. They are such a powerful symbol in the courtroom, aren't they? And the one thing that always fucks me up. And the thing about the scales of justice is, they're always leaning one way or the other. They're only ever in balance right at the start. It must be something peculiar to the British. I'm afraid I can't shed any light on it, Mr. Naruhodo. Kazuma. Very fine. It's very fine embroidery here that shows the name of the armband's owner. In this case, Kazuma Asogi. I'm always carrying my best friend's hopes and dreams of me on my right arm, just here, all the time. To be honest, it's something that weighs very heavily on me. Oh, I didn't realize it was such a burden, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, I think it's why my right shoulder aches so much. Are you sure that's not to do with you reading in bed or something of the like? He reads in bed? Boom, boom, boom. I'm surprised we still have this. About the books. I didn't even have to look at this and I still remembered about it. The street map, though, is a little bit interesting that we still have that. It literally is... what is it? About the, where the victim was stabbed, the body was found, which we later found out that the victim was stabbed right here on this side of the, road, and what was it, that constable was like, oh shit, it's on my side of the road, I'm gonna move it to the other side of the road. So that it's in a different, jurisdiction or something. My cat is following. My cat is following the magnifying glass, trying to catch it. I didn't think she would. She's following it. Oh my god, that was not expected. Okay, everywhere that you saw the magnifying glass go is where Zoe was going. God damn it. She was trying to grasp it with her paws. Oh man, that was so cute. Man, there are times I wish I could record that stuff. Okay, let's start examining things. Let's examine the body. Oh, the poor man, so young to die. Do you suppose it was a very painful death, being poisoned as he was? I don't know. Oh my god, hold on. My cat dropped something that she's not supposed to drop. There you go, if that closes, I can't use it anymore. Why did you drop this? You're not supposed to drop this. Leave that alone. Okay. I don't know. All we can do now is hope that he'll be born to a better life. Yes, I suppose you're right. I wonder. Do you think that putting our hands together in a Japanese prayer will help a British soul? I don't think that matters. Sorry? I made sure I had a reference at the ready for just such an occasion as this, actually. This book is entitled The Beginner's Guide to Praying for the Departed the British Way. There should be a difference. I'll just reread it now, one moment. There's quite a spine on that book, isn't there? Ah, one of the teacups that Mr. Shamspear and his guests drank from last night. But don't go drinking from them, Mr. Naruhodo. There's bitter poison inside. I'm not planning on drinking any, don't worry. Anyway, the cups are both empty. And wait, if they're both empty, if that's the case, then there would be no poison, right? Anyway, never mind. That's true, so one was Mr. Shamspear's, and the other must be the cup that Mr. Natsume was drinking from. But Toseki-san wasn't poisoned, of course. Perhaps we should take these so we can examine them in more detail later. Thank you. The key cups used by Mr. Shamspear and Mr. Natsumi. The one with the green line around the rim was Mr. Natsumi's. How do you know that? Can I look at those now? Oh, there's nothing inside them. Well, the other one actually has something. Do you see the marking on the other one? This is the the teacup from Mr. Natsumi was drinking. Yes, unlike the other one, the inside of the cup is completely clean. I suppose he must have drunk the contents before the tea had a chance to leave a mark. I always gulp it down too. Sorry, Mr. Naruhodo. Well, if you just sip it little by little, it goes cold. Clearly, I shall have to instruct you in the proper way to make tea. There's no tea ring inside of Mr. Natsumi's cup. That means this one is marked? Nope, it's not. This must be the cup that Mr. Shamspear is drinking from then. It's stained on the inside. Tea does that, I'm afraid, even green tea. Oh really? I've never noticed before. You've never noticed? Well, I'd never leave it in the cup long enough to leave a mark. I like to gulp it down. Drink tea while it's hot. That's the Japanese way, isn't it? Oh dear, so many people seem to have the wrong idea about our culture, and most of them are Japanese. I take my time to drink my tea. Alright, there's nothing on those cups now, but at least we got some info on it. No, I don't know if that's good info or bad info. Look at these extravagant, bright costumes. Somehow they look out of place in this room with its grim, shady going-ons. This one looks like a king's attire. A king? I've always dreamt of being a king. What? Oh, I think you'd be more suited to a feudal lord, a daimyo as such. With a cron mage top knot? Every Japanese man wishes he had a cron mage. Cron mage? Oh, you'd look wonderful with one, and you already have the sword. Can you imagine what would happen if I walked around the streets of London with a cron mage and a sword? Tron mage? Tron mage? I don't know how to pronounce that word either. And here we have another disproportionately large machine. This looks like a meter of some kind. And it's locked. This is a gas meter, I think. It seems that in this district, residents pay for gas as they use it with coins. Ah, I see. Yes, now that you've pointed it out, I can see that there's a slot here just that looks like... I can see that there's a slot that just here that looks like it would take a coin. So you mean, if you put a coin in here... That's right, that would buy you about 2 hours of gas for lights and heating. What the heck? So, if you were a poor person with no money, you'd have to sleep in the freezing cold? Yes, or if you were a scatterbrain with no change because you forgot to exchange your money at the bank. Thank goodness there's no meter in our office. That sucks. That sucks to think about. This is a gas wall light, isn't it? It must be connected to the gas pipe in the wall. Gas lights, a gas stove. London really is a city of gas. But now that I think about it, Mr. and Mrs. Garadeb had an open fire on the top floor, didn't they? Oh yes, you're right. I don't recall seeing a gas stove up there. Well, I much prefer a real fire anyway. It's so much cozier. No comment. And the window as per usual. As we've seen from the outside, the window is completely bricked up. A vestige of the former window tax that Britons had to... You know, I actually had to... I looked that up. The window tax was actually a fucking thing. And it took so many years for that to go away. It's ridiculous that that actually existed. What strange things they used to tax in Great Britain. I mean, making people pay for the number of windows they had in a property? It's extraordinary. And dumb. It's heartbreaking to think of the poor having to block up their windows just to avoid an unaffordable tax. Oh! What is it, Miss Susato? If you look closely, a number of the bricks are loose. Huh? Oh, what the heck? I didn't even see that. Why? Ah, yes. It looks as though an amateur has broken out a few of them just here. Was it Mr. Shamspear who did it, I wonder, being the lodger renting this room? Ah, look at this, Mr. Naruhodo. On the outside, there's a little ledge here. And there's something on it. What, outside? Why is there soap? Wait, is he... What's going on here? Brr. It's so cold outside, you can feel it through this gap. It did snow all last night, it would be cold. But more importantly, what is this on the ledge out there? What are those snow-covered lumps? It's more bars of soap. Soap? What are bars of soap doing lined up on the ledge outside the window? I have no idea. But the pair of them look rather charming like that. No, that's very strange, isn't it? Bars of soap lined up outside the window. I think perhaps we should take one. There are two, after all. Oh dear, I suppose we could. Oh, what's this? Look here at this soap. Ah. Do you see in the middle here? There's a patch that's a different color. It's sort of transparent, but some sort of fancy design, I suppose, only in Great Britain. It looks like the Hinomaru flag for Japan, doesn't it? How wonderful. It's probably a very expensive brand. Expensive? Then what's it doing in this ramshackle old room? A cheap bar of soap that was discovered just outside Mr. Shamspeare's window. It's one of the two that was found there. That's very weird to me, though. Why that, of all things? What is this? This part is a different color. It's an exquisite design, isn't it? Trust the British to turn a boring bar of soap into something special. I quite like it. It reminds me of the Hinomaru design of the Japanese flag. I expect this is rather expensive soap. That doesn't seem likely, given who it belongs to. It's in there, too. That's weird. Well, I think we got it. What is that? What's this? It looks like part of an envelope, I think. Yes, I think you may be right. Perhaps it was torn off when the letter was opened? Is that significant? Well, it's a little out of place, perhaps, when you look around the room. There's no sign of a letter or the rest of the envelope, in fact, is there? Ah, she's right. And yet, here we have the torn off end of an envelope. It just strikes me as unusual. I agree, we better take this, just in case. Oh god, we're getting a lot of evidence so far. A ripped piece of an envelope that was found in Mr. Shamspeare's room, the rest of the envelope could not be located. Looks like you're having a good snoop around, eh? Inspector Gregson, but back so soon? After I threw that little Japanese fella in the clink, I went and reported this to the investigation division. In 5 minutes' time, this place would be cordoned off by the yard. Oh, I see. Well, we better be leaving then. Poor Mr. Natsu must be feeling very low being back in the cell again so soon. I'm sure... What? I'm sure we should probably go and... What's wrong, Mr. Naruhodo? What the fuck is happening here? What? Out, brief candle. Life's but a walking shadow. A poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage, and then is heard no more. What the hell, dude? And my internet is starting to struggle. Great time for my internet to start struggling, right? Now, how soundeth the next part? It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. What? Indeed! Oh, happy day. I'm sorry, what the fuck just happened? Walking Dead? I think he's malnourished, dude. Someone get him to a hospital. Holy fuck, what happened? The fella isn't dead at all? What was that nonsense he was saying, though? I think, yes, it was from William Shakespeare's Macbeth. Oh my god, so we have William Shakespeare in the universe, as expected. And William Shakespeare. Fucking course, man. A soliloquy from Act 5, Scene 5. Shakespeare. What the hell just happened? So it was that the victim, Mr. William Shakespeare, came back to life. The man had indeed been poisoned. It transpired that it hadn't killed him. He was taken by emergency carriage to a nearby hospital for treatment. And Inspector Gregson evicted us from the scene of the crime, whatever that now was. What even is it? Is it even a scene of the crime? What the fuck? What just happened, man? 21st of February, Briar Road. You didn't even get a chance to talk to Gary Deb. Whatever do you think will happen now? Good question. What a strange situation for Mr. Natsumi. Arrested for murder, but then the victim comes back to life. I think perhaps the victim was never dead in the first place. It seems very likely that Mr. Shakespeare did consume poison, as we deduced. But was it an accident, attempted suicide, or attempted murder? Until the truth can be established, I imagine the police will keep Mr. Natsumi in custody. I suppose so. Let's hope it doesn't come to anything more than a night in the cells. Oh, what's this? What's that man doing over there? I'm glad wait, we've seen that man before. He looks like he's trying to see into Soseki-san's lodgings. Is something wrong, Mr. Naruhodo? Excuse me, could we have a word? Ah! And he's gone. He just ran off. I feel sure that I've seen that man somewhere before. Where was it? We saw them in, like, a small cameo for a bit. I do too, but I don't remember. What was he looking at, though? That's soap? With the exception of the top floor, where Mr. and Mrs. Garrideb live, all the windows are bricked up. Yes, that's because of an old window tax that was charged on the number of windows a property had. In order to pay less tax, the poorer members of society filled in many of their windows, but the tax has since then been abolished, hasn't it? So the windows could be opened up again, surely. But here comes the next problem. You gotta pay for the glass. Unfortunately, it would appear the residents of this district can't afford to pay to have the work done. Yes, that is a sad state of affairs. Especially for people like poor Mr. Natsumi who have to live all cooped up in a windowless room. How does he not go insane? I mean, I guess technically he is insane, right? I suppose that's the price you pay for living in a very cheap accommodation. It all seems rather pointless when you put it like that. But we didn't even look at the bar of soap. There always seems to be a bicycle outside the Garrideb residence. I read that bicycles are extremely popular all over Great Britain at the moment, in fact. That one seems very warped, though, especially the front wheel. Is that to make it more of a challenge to ride, do you think? I think it's just broken. No, I'm afraid that may be the result of the rider's incompetence. For the front wheel to be so badly warped, I'm afraid the rider may have been similarly afflicted. Then, there's a good chance Mr. Natsumi has been practicing on his bicycle, I think. Oh dear, I fear you may be right. Not much to look around here. The Garrideb household and Mr. Natsumi's lodgings are in a prominent position there on the corner. Sometimes when I look at the building, I can't help feeling that it's a bit of a slant. It does rather look as though it would collapse at even the smallest earthquake, doesn't it? And isn't it supposed to be haunted as well? I think I might have a hunch as to why Soseki-san has such a hunchback. London's blanketed in fog again today, and the sky is covered in cloud. But if you look carefully in the distance, you can just make out the Crystal Tower being built. Ah, the Crystal Tower, yes, the centerpiece of the Great Exhibition that's open in 6 months' time. Everyone's talking about the Great Exhibition of London at the moment, and seems, well, it's to be the largest event of its kind anywhere in the world, with technology and scientists from all over. I can't wait for it myself. Do you think visiting students from the Far East like us will be granted entry? The last great exhibition that was held in London had more than 6 million visitors, it seemed. God damn. And this time, the British are determined to make it an even bigger success to outdo the Paris Exposition. I see. That's an incredible number of people. With so many people expected to attend, we should easily be able to slip in unnoticed. There's always the honest approach of buying tickets to the main entrance, Mr. Naruto. Yeah, you can see it right there. Why has somebody built this snowman on some sort of pedestal, do you think? That's not a pedestal, Mr. Naruto. That's part of the snowman's body. Really? But it already has a perfectly good body. Well, it's true that the British snowmen are usually made with 2 balls of snow. Perhaps this is a foreigner. And now we're looking at him if he's strange. Poor man, I know how he feels. If anything, it's Japanese and British 2-ball snowmen that are the strange one, isn't it? After all, real people do have 3 sections: head, torso, and legs. Do you ever think that's perhaps you think about things too much? Can we look? Oh, we have a lot of shit. We could go to Mr. Garadeb's room and we could go to the prison. Let's go start with Mr. Garadeb's room. The suite on the top floor of the house where Mr. Natsumi has his lodgings, occupied by the landlord, Mr. Garadeb, and his wife. The windows look out over Briar Road. You know, I don't believe we visited this place for some time. It's been 4 days. Maybe 5 days, tops. The Garadeb's room. Here we go again, the eccentric landlord's eccentric top-floor abode. We're here because Mr. Garadeb's the one who discovered the incident this morning, don't forget. Ah, you chaps, eh? Yes, good morning, sir. Thank you for your cooperation in court yesterday. It was quite a trial. As much for Mr. Garadeb as anyone, really. Came straight back here after all that business at the Bailey yesterday. Didn't expect to wake up to more bawly nonsense this morning. I wonder, if you wouldn't mind telling us exactly what happened, Mr. Garadeb? Yes, I suppose you'd like to know all about that dead loss of an actor chap in the ground floor. He's not dead. Those were exactly Inspector Gregson's words, weren't they? Hey, why is your back dirty? Well, he's alive. It must have been a real shock for you this morning. I hear that you discovered what had happened. Ah, well, that hopeless actor chap rises at 5 o'clock sharp every morning without fail. But at 5:30 this morning, he still hadn't lit the gas. So I went down and knocked on his door, but no bally answer. And that's when you broke into his room by kicking down the door? Wow, I called on that rum-looking Japanese chap to do the grunt work, of course. Wasn't it a little premature to kick the door down? The man could have just overslept by half an hour. That's very true, Mr. Naruto. If 30 minutes oversleeping warranted such behavior, I'd have to kick your door down every morning. Well, you know, better to be safe than sorry and all that. Is it just me, or is he avoiding our gaze now all of a sudden? What is with everyone, dude? Except that it was a sorry situation indeed that you found on the far side of the door. The victim's name is Mr. Shamspeare, I believe. Is that right? Yes, William Shamspeare took the ground floor room 3 months ago now. And how would you describe him? In a word, destitute. Destitute? Well, let's face it, the only redeeming feature of that room is the cheap rent. Anyone wanting to live in a place like that is either broke or has a bally screw loose. So hard to choose which category Soseki-san would fall into. Mr. Naruto, that's a little rude. He was doing research as well. Research? Into what? Shakespeare, of course, Shakespeare! Read a few plays of the old bard myself, you know, Romeo and Hamlet, Romeo and Hamlet, and all of that. Yes, William Shakespeare is England's most highly regarded classical playwright and author. He's known as Sao in Japanese, as you know, and many of his works have already been translated. It seems incredible that Shakespeare was shortened to Sao, though. Someone was too heavy-handed there. There were a lot of costumes in the victims' rooms, actually, weren't there? Of course, Mr. Natsumi is a scholar of English literature as well. I imagine he and Mr. Shakespeare would have had much in common. Shakespeare's interpretation disagreement leads to shocking murder. Let's hope it's not that. Mr. Naruhodo, really? How rude. Oh, we're not gonna tell him that he's alive? After Mr. Natsumi's trial yesterday, you came straight back here, I believe, didn't you? Did you notice anything strange between then and this morning? Well now, must have been about 6 in the evening by the time I got home. Snow was coming down rather heavily, as I remember, and it was completely dark already. That failed actor chap was out at the time. Mr. Garadeb noticed there was no light from his room or something, I suppose. Couldn't summon the energy for anything much, so I just sat in front of the fire up here. It was after 8 before Shamspear got back, and the chap was up until past 1 in the morning, I'll have you know. Jesus fuck, he only sleeps for 4 hours? Suppose he met his end sometime after that. I was asleep by then, so I'm rather in the dark there. Well, thank you. That was very illuminating. Is everything alright, Miss Susato? Well, I was just thinking it's a little strange, that's all. Mr. Garadeb, you were up here in your room all evening, if I've understood correctly. Not a big fan of stairs, not with this blasted leg. Then, how is it that you seem to know? The precise movements of your tenant on the ground floor, I mean. Ah! That's a very good point. Can't imagine that you could hear noises from the ground floor all the way up here. Does this old man like to spy on his tenants? Is that it? I say, I know what you're thinking. That's a baldy outrage. I'm ex-military, don't you know? I don't go around spying on my tenants. Why would I? And how did you know, Mr. Garadeb? It's the gas, woman. The gas tells me everything. The gas? By the way, can I, like, present stuff to you real quick? Before we, like, do anything? Present! Present everything! I'm still gonna blow my nose for a second. Hold on. Man, I'm tired today. It hasn't even been 2 hours since I started the stream, and I'm just feeling tired. Those hiccups did a little bit of a number to me, and I haven't recovered since then. Mr. Garadeb, could I show you this? Been quite a couple of days, as you can imagine. I'm afraid I'm rather tired. I haven't really got the energy in the old eyeballs, to be honest with you. Some other time, then. Next. Next. Next item. Nope, he has nothing to say about anything I want to show him. He might actually say something about the envelope, though. Nope. Okay, so he doesn't care about a damn thing. Speaking gas, what on earth do you mean, sir? How can the gas tell you anything, let alone everything? Well, as you're probably aware, the gas is supplied to the building by pipes. Yes, I'd more or less worked that out. Every room in the building is connected by a single pipe to the gas main outside, and the gas company supplies gas to properties via the main. Yes, I understand that too. Let me see if I can explain. Let's say I was to light the gas lamps up here. What do you suppose would happen? Well, obviously the room would get brighter. Exactly, but at the same time, the lights in all the other rooms of the house would dim for a moment. What? They dim? Why? Perhaps it's because when you light a gas lamp, it briefly uses more gas than usual, and that reduces the amount of gas in the pipe for the other lamps that are connected to it. That might explain why the other lamps dim momentarily, mightn't it? Yes, of course, because everything's connected to a single supply pipe. Is that supposed to happen, though? It sounds rather undesirable. Jolly good point. Fact is, the gas company's pipes in these parts are pretty hopeless, long worn out, and barely got any gas in them to start with. Opposite's also true, of course. You extinguish the lamps up, and here they glow brighter than in the rest of the house. Ah, right, I see. But by watching the flickering of the lamps in one room, you can determine what's happening elsewhere. You've got it. That's actually kind of neat. Oh, of course, but perhaps when people... because when people come back home in the evening, and even before they go to sleep at night, what they're guaranteed to do is either light or put out their lamps and fires. Clever. In point of fact, the room on the ground floor and the one above it use slightly different amounts of gas. By watching the lights in here closely, I can work out almost exactly what's going on in the whole house. That's actually kind of interesting. Gosh, that's fascinating, Mr. Garrideb. Absolutely fascinating. Oh, well, nothing to it, really. And I can't really see that it's going to help us with the case either. What I'd like to know is why Mr. Garrideb is so interested in what his tenants are up to in the first place. I feel like there's more to it than idle curiosity. Well, we've done as much investigating here as we can, I think. Perhaps we ought to go to the prison and speak with Mr. Natsumi again. A good idea. Thank you, Mr. Garrideb. Let's go to the prison now. Chat with Mr. O. Natsume. Mr. Natsume. Local prison cell 9. This guy is, as per usual, fucking depressed. Look, Mr. Naruhodo. Mr. Natsume, had the police finished questioning you now? Locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Man, I am lost all my energy. I can't do his voice. I can't do any voices right now. My excitement is not there. Like, I'm tired. Oh? Yes? What is he? Tell me. Is he a ghost? Is he here to haunt me? Let me guess. You're talking about Mr. Sholmes? He actually calls himself a great detective, Mr. Natsume, not a ghost. But his diabolic deductions, they're not of this world. They've left me. Ah, cursed! I'm cursed, I tell you! Well, that sort of hurts. Credit where credit is due, Mr. Naruhodo. You were heavily involved in the deduction, too. Yes, moving on, we have some wonderful news. Oh? The victim that we all thought was dead has come back to life again. Now, in the absolutely worst case, you could only be tried for attempted murder. That's great, isn't it, Mr. Natsumi? It's terrible! Oh. I'm stuck in this cell, suffering for some silly wrong end of the stick. You did it, didn't you? Confess, you're a killer. Why the mustache? Constant questions! I'm sorry to hear that. Ah, that selfish shyster! Make up your mind, are you dead or alive? If you were going to come back to life, why bother dying? Wickedly wishy-washy William. Well, it seems likely that Mr. Shamsphere was never actually dead in the first place. Ah, yes, that might make sense, and I'm pleased that he's alive, of course. Our lively debate last night was much fun. I'd be sad to think it was our last. Oh! Oops. You... Mr. Natsumi, does this mean that you did see the victim last night? You met with Mr. Shamsphere, didn't you? I'm not saying another word. I demand to have a lawyer present. I am a lawyer. Who do you think I am? Please, Mr. Natsumi, we need to hear your side of the story. Why am I cursed like this? Because you're an easy person to curse. Have I shown you this before, Mr. Natsumi? Oh yes, the sweet, sweet aroma of our beloved homeland. It shows that the wearer is a defense lawyer. It means nothing in Great Britain, of course, but I still wear it. Oh, I know exactly how you feel, locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. My Haramaki belly band, I don't feel right without it. Your Haramaki belly band? It's perfect for the cold English winters, just the thing to keep my tummy warm. Yes, I see the link. Almost. Oh, he's got a lot to say. Mr. Natsumi, about this receipt. It occurs to me now that if it was those confounded books that saw me arrested the first time too. Oh yes, I suppose that's true. After I spent my precious pennies on them, that's the thanks I get. No, I don't know when I'll read them. No, not when. If I may very well hate them too much to even open their covers. Damn. I don't know that we can blame the books for everything that's happened, Mr. Natsumi. I mean, you've got a point, though. Mr. Natsumi, it's nothing much, but... it's been too long since I've been offered a present with that delightfully humble etiquette of our homeland. What? You're too kind. I accept it gladly. Sorry, but I wasn't trying to give it to you, actually. Okay, he has nothing to say about the teacups. Do you have anything to say about the, soap? Mr. Natsumi, what do you know about this? Ah, there it is! That lathery lowlife that took my neighbor's life and sent me sliding to the depths of despair. Slippery, sickly, psychotic saboteur. It's just soap. You've really gone off soap, haven't you? Absolutely, and I've made up my mind. The next time someone gives me soap as a present, it's... friendship finished firmly forever. I don't know that we can blame soap for everything that's happened, Mr. Natsumi. What about the letter? Oh, he has nothing to say about it. Okay. The letter right now is currently the only thing I'm still not very sure about. Right now, all I know is that it was torn off in such a way that, yeah. Whoever opened this envelope didn't bother with a letter opener or scissors, did they? Yes, whoever opened it was clearly someone with an unrefined temperament. And judging from the, angle of the rip here, the person in question must have been right-handed. Miss Susato, I think perhaps someone's been reading too much of the Adventures of Herlock Sholmes. You can never read too much of it, Mr. Naruhodo. Never. Too bad we have nothing else to go off of with this thing. All it does is form a letter F, if you look at it like this. Alright, Mr. Natsumi, what happened? Can you tell us exactly what happened last night then, Mr. Natsumi? There's nothing to tell, but, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire, I'm eternally grateful to you for helping me with that accursed case yesterday. The case that saw poor Mrs. Green hospitalized after she ended up with a knife in her back. It's hard to believe that was only yesterday. After the trial was over, I trudged my way back to my lowly lodgings, and that evening, at past 9 it must have been, I visited Mr. Shamspeare. So, you did go to the victim's room then? As we feared. I didn't do anything wrong! I'd never been to his room before. It was the first time! Then, what made you decide to go? I bumped into him when I arrived back at the house. We got chatting and developed into a discussion. But he had to go out, so I bade him farewell. That ties in with Mr. Garadeb said that the victim went out and came back after 8. We met again later that evening at around 9 or just after. When I took some nice tea I'd brewed as a gift. So it was you who brought the tea that had clearly been drunk at the scene then? And I suppose you were discussing the works of Shakespeare, were you? Yes, that's right. That's exactly right. Romeo and Juliet, who was the stronger? It was a delightful debate. I would argue that Juliet was the stronger of the two. But only by barely. I'm sure. Such a stimulating subject, Shakespeare! And the debate became very heated, so you slipped poison in Mr. Shakespeare's tea? No, never, not at all. Team Juliet won, that was me, and when I left his room, I had a feeling that he was going to be Team Juliet. The flamboyant fellow was fighting fit, I swear, categorically. I would love to be able to yell right now as loud as Mr. Natsumi is yelling, but it's gonna... I don't have the energy, dude. Mr. Natsumi, you often say the same thing about yourself, I've noticed. That you have a cursed existence. I'm sure I've mentioned this to you before, but I've been here in Great Britain for a year now, and in that time, I've learned that it's no place for me. It can be very trying to live in a foreign land and adapt to the ways of another culture. There are foreigners everywhere I look. They all stare at me. They all laugh. That's the impression I get whenever I go out. It makes me scared to leave my room. Which is why I've become a recluse. But even in my room, I find no respite from my fears. I've moved more times than I can remember, and then 1 week ago I moved into Briar Road. But why? I mean, why did you choose that place? It doesn't seem very comfortable. Because the rent is cheap. I have so little money, it spoke to me. The rent? Obviously there's a reason why it's cheap. Because the room is cursed. Cursed? Cursed how? The previous occupant, the man who lived there before I took the room, died there. Oh no! He was only a young man, but one morning he was found dead and no one could explain why. Surely no one would want to live in a room with a history like that. I sure as hell wouldn't want to live in a house that had anything like that. I didn't. When the letting agent recommended the place, I wavered. But I want books, and books cost money. A horrible history is a small price to pay. Damn. When I realized it would mean I could buy more books, I signed the lease like lightning. Brave or blinkered? But after I moved in, I soon came to realize what I'd done. I realized how horrible that room's history really was. Gosh, was it really so awful? Horrible history. How did the room's horrible history affect you, Mr. Natsumi? What happened? At first, it was just a feeling. The feeling of beady eyes boring into my back, watching me. Do you think that might have just been your mind playing tricks on you? No, my mind doesn't know any tricks. It was someone else. It's been one long nightmare ever since I was given the keys to the place. A nightmare? You've been having bad dreams, you mean? Oh, all the souls who died in that room lean over me in my sleep and try to strangle me. That really is horrible. And now I come to think of it, it happened again last night too. The very same night that Mr. Shakespeare was writhing in agony from the poison in his body. I was on the verge of being suffocated silently by those miserable spirits in my room. You simply must move out of that room as soon as possible. Yes, you're right, I know it, and that's why I'm already searching for the next room with a history to call home. I think perhaps you should try to avoid a combination with any kind of history at all. No kidding. Otherwise, I'm scared that you yourself may become history. Woo, Suzato-san knows how to make the man listen. Of course, Mr. Lord of the Manor is worried about the curse on my room as well. Mr. Garadeb? Yes, he knows that if people keep dying there, he'll never be able to rent it out again. Oh, that's true. I, for one, wouldn't go near the place. Nor would I. Ah, perhaps that may explain why the landlord pays so much attention to the gas lamps and his tenants' movements. You mean because he's worried about their well-being? He does seem to have an unusually keen interest in the amount of gas in the pipes. There must be a reason why he keeps such close tabs on the occupants on his let rooms. What do you mean, he pays so much attention to the gas lamps? Oh dear, no, it's nothing to do with you, Mr. Natsumi. Please, forget I said anything. Oh, now you're talking about me behind my back as well. What's important is that Mr. Shamspeare isn't in fact dead at all. Once he comes around and he's able to tell us what happened, we'll be able to get you released. Yes, please. Oh, I do hope you're right. Ahem, excuse me. Oh, Gregson, hi. Inspector Gregson. Couldn't help overhearing what you just said. And on that note, I have some good news and some bad news. Oh? Which do you want first? Bad news? Always, every time, the bad news comes first. When hope is all you have, hold on to it. That's my guiding principle. Right, well, in that case, the good news it is. Huh? Sorry, but it's just a lot easier to explain everything that way. Then why did you ask me my preference? As you might have heard, the victim, Mr. Shamspeare, was just unconscious. He's come round now. Yes, we saw it happen in its terrifying glory. He's still being treated by the doctors, but we managed to get a written statement from him already. Oh, isn't that wonderful, Mr. Natsumi? Oh, thank goodness. It's all over then. I can leave this somber cell. Sorry, no, that's not on the cards. What? Why ever not, Inspector? Mr. Shamspeare has implicated someone as being responsible for what happened last night. Implicated someone? Oh dear. You don't mean... I'm sorry to say I do, yes. He's pointed the finger at you, Mr. Natsumi. By sweet poison did he seeketh to end my life. That wickedest caitiff, Soseki Natsumi. No! So I'm afraid you'll be appearing in court as planned. You'll be wanting to make the necessary preparations. No! Why does this keep happening to this man? And so, once again, Soseki-san found himself having to take the dock in the Old Bailey. Whether his room was haunted or whether he was just terribly unlucky, I knew I had no choice. The following day, I would represent him in court and do my utmost to break the curse that blighted him. To be continued. I was like, where the hell's the to be continued thing? Good, it's been 2 hours. My soul is slowly disappearing on me. Save! Trial part 1. That means there's 2 trial parts. Probably even 3 trial parts if we're being honest. That or there could be an investigation, but this is only case 2. Why would it throw that much at me? 22nd of February, 9:23 a.m. The Old Bailey, defendant's antechamber. I'm hesitant to keep going, but I'm going to try to keep going. We're going to try to push forward. The Old Bailey, this place always makes me feel strange. I seem to get chills down my spine and break out in a nervous sweat all at the same time. Well, I didn't think I'd be back here so soon. That's my line. Good morning! Ah, good morning, Mr. Natsumi. It was only 2 days ago that I was declared not guilty here. Yes, we somehow managed to prove he didn't stab Miss Green in the back. But now this? Another morning, another murder, and here I am again in this hellhole. Can't keep coming to court. You do gotta feel bad for him, you know? I'm beginning to think he's right. It really does seem as though he's cursed. Mr. Naruhodo, I'm afraid I have bad news. Oh! Mr. Natsumi, good morning. Yes, morning. So, here we are again. Yes, again. What the hell is this awkwardness? Judicial Assistant Miss Mikotoba Esquires, what's the bad news? Oh dear, you heard, did you? If you come in shouting at the top of your voice, people can't help hearing what you say. Oh, I am sorry. You've done nothing wrong, Miss Susato. Now, what is it? Well, it seems that the prosecution in today's trial will be led by Lord Barrick Van Zieks. I feel like it's not even surprising at this point. Van Zieks? Ah! No, no! Oh, no, no! The so-called Reaper of the Bailey, the most legendary prosecutor in the land. In the trial 2 days ago, he pursued Soseki-san and I relentlessly. Of course, by the skin of our teeth, we managed to pull through, but still. Perhaps Mr. Natsumi's acquittal in the last trial wasn't the end of the matter after all. Yes, I know what you're thinking, the legend of the Reaper that says, nothing can save a person in the dock when Lord Van Zieks is the prosecutor. Oh no! That even if that person is found not guilty, the accused will meet a mysterious end one way or another. And we've experienced it firsthand. Man, it goes right back to the McGilded trial. But we know what happened in McGilded. A man we successfully defended met the most terrifying end after his acquittal, right here in the Old Bailey. Ah, do I have to put up with those ice-cold eyes boring into my soul again? Cursed by evil spirits and now by the Reaper. Pair of petrifying perils, potentially. Well, if it's potentially, at least you appear to have hope, Mr. Natsumi. Welcome, student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Ah, yes. I'm innocent. You have to believe me. You more than anyone now. Don't worry. I'll be your steadfast ally every step of the way in this battle, I promise. And this promises to be a hard battle, I fear. Especially because I really wasn't expecting Shamspear to do that. Kind of expecting something else. Well, the trial is scheduled to begin shortly. We should move into the courtroom. Let's go. Oh, yes, I forgot to say. I'm afraid you won't be able to make it. Mr. Sholmes, I mean. That's probably for the best. Oh? If he were here, I might be tempted to rely on his help. And that could be seen as a weakness. If Lord Van Zieks were to notice, he'd prey on it mercilessly. At least, that's my gut feeling. Mr. Naruhodo. You're right. Yes, you're so right. Oh, well said, locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Well said. I swear on the sword on my side and on the spirit of Cosma that it harbors, I'll show him what a Japanese lawyer can do. I'll set you free with honor. Oh, yes. Ba-dum-bum-bam-bam-bam-bam. 22nd of February, 9:40 a.m. in the Old Bailey courtroom. In the name of Her Majesty, the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. The prosecution is ready. The defense is ready, my lord. Readiness for the trial, my learned Nipponese friend. Okay, I just remembered how to pronounce that word. It's Nipponese, not Nipponese. Nipponese friend. Is that what the defense needs? Is not what the defense needs. What you need is readiness for your inevitable defeat. It's not just in my imagination, it's really there. Lord Van Zieks has such an animosity towards us Japanese for some reason. It was some time ago now that he first became known as the Reaper of the Bailey, I believe. These past few years he hasn't appeared in court at all. Yet now he's back in the courtroom, though for some reason, only when I'm defending. This Reaper, with his curious disdain for us Japanese, is a prosecutor shrouded in mystery. At least he's not like Von Karma. Still, this isn't the time to be pondering that. I have to concentrate on Soseki-san's trial. Furthermore, I now call upon the 6 ladies and gentlemen of the jury. You have been chosen at random to represent the will of the people in this trial. Are you ready to fulfill your duty? Absolutely. I had a feeling this larrikin wasn't innocent before. I must say that I feel especially ruthless on days when my hat refuses to sit right. Oh, well, I rather like how you're wearing your hat. I think the ruthless look is very fetching, actually. This one here, this one, juror number 4 is different. I've never seen her before. I need to be somewhere at 10 o'clock. I have a very important meeting. Let's make this quick. That's not happening. I couldn't agree more. I need to take home 5 bob tonight, and the missus will go through the roof. Oh, may the Lord show us all the light here and lead his flock to the righteous verdict. I swear to God, juror number 6 always... This dude specifically. He has so many different personas. Now he seems to be on the trial of God or something. The British jury system is so very different to our own, isn't it? It's quite extraordinary to think that the power of judgment is in the hands of 6 members of the public, and that the judge can only pass sentence when all jurors are in agreement about the defendant's guilt. But are we ever going to see a situation where the judge doesn't agree with the jury? 6 citizens of London chosen at random, or at least that's the idea. The prosecution would draw attention to the fact that the accused was on the trial here but 2 days ago. Accordingly, where possible, the same jurors have been asked to return for duty today. Very well, let us commence the trial. Lord Van Zeeks, your opening statement, please. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, it is not the intent of the prosecution to cast doubt over your past decision. However, the innocent verdict afforded to this eccentric Nipponese before had dire consequences. Did the accused repent for his wrongdoing in that affair? Far from it. Instead, he used his freedom to perpetrate a most blood-curdling crime, namely that of the attempted murder of his neighboring lodger, an innocent Englishman. To explain the circumstances of the crime, the prosecution calls its first witnesses to the stand. The detective responsible for investigating the scene, and the accused himself. Huh? Witnesses, your names and occupations, please. Yes, sir. Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector at Scotland Yard's Homicide Division. Soseki Natsumi from the Empire of Japan. My government ordered me to come here as a student, study your language and culture. Mr. Natsumi. Yes, my lord, sir. I'm quite sure I'm not mistaken that you swore an oath never to set foot in my courtroom again. I remember it as if it were yesterday. The day before, in fact, my lord, but close enough. Believe me, this is the last place I want to be. Inspector, let's hear from you first. Explain the case for the court. Right you are, sir. The incident occurred at the Garadeb household, where the defendant has lodgings. In the ground floor room of the victim, Mr. William Shamspeare, the defendant has already admitted to visiting the victim on the night in question. Mr. Shamspeare collapsed in his room as a result of the poisoning by strychnine? He was found the following morning where the landlord, suspecting something was wrong, broke down the door. This means, I presume, that the door to the victim's room was locked at the time of the incident. Correct, my lord. It was locked from the inside, making entry to or exit from the room impossible. Although the victim, Mr. Shamspeare, lives to tell tale, he very nearly didn't. The man was halfway to heaven when we first found him. I was the first officer on the scene, my lord. And I have a photographic print here that I took at the time to show how it looked. Yes, a chilling scene indeed. The man looks very much deceased. That's right, everyone present believed that's exactly what he was. I mean, I didn't expect him to come back. Very well, I shall accept this photographic print as evidence for the court. Hold up, can I? Oh wait, no, we don't have it yet. Photographic print of the scene taken by the police upon their arrival. The victim can be seen unconscious on the table, having been poisoned. Now then, Mr. Natsumi, before we continue with that. Okay, so the bricks are not loose. They still have their, Those 3 bricks are not loose. I'm wondering about that. What the heck going on with that, too? You know what else is missing from this picture as well? Here we have the first half of the bar of soap, right? The second bar of soap is supposed to be behind the hat, but we don't see it. So unless the picture's not showing that, I have no idea. Nah. Yes. As the defendant, do you have anything to say to this at this juncture? They're haunted. Haunted by evil spirits. Good gracious, what's haunted? My lodgings! There's been a whole series of strange happenings in my lodgings. The tenant before me died in mysterious circumstances. A woman was stabbed by no one on the street outside. My neighbor was poisoned. And me! What about me? I've nearly been killed countless times. Killed, Mr. Natsumi? How? Even on that fateful night it happened, and when I returned from Mr. Shamspeare's room, I lit my gas stove and climbed into bed, but before long, the stove went out, and somebody tried to kill me. You must always extinguish all fires before retiring for the night, Mr. Natsumi. But it's so cold, but my runny nose would freeze. The point is, I didn't poison my neighbor. Oh, why am I being accused of this? Why is my existence so cursed? Thank you, witnesses. I believe I have a reasonably clear picture of events. If I could raise one more point, my lord. One more conclusive point. Conclusive? Go on. Fortunately, the victim, Mr. Shamspeare, has regained consciousness after his ordeal, and he has named the true culprit. The poison consumed by the victim was administered in a cup of tea that he drank on the night in question. Tea, my lord, that was brought to the victim's room by the accused. The accused? Good grief! Order! Order! Yes, that's the crux of this whole case. If Soseki-san is innocent, then why? Why has the victim accused him? Well, Mr. Natsumi, what have you to say to this accusation? That evening, yes, I did take some freshly brewed tea with me when I visited Mr. Shamspeare's room as a gift. The public water pump outside always freezes at night, so I brought bottled water especially to make it. And this is the result. Never will I touch tea again. Never! The public pump was frozen, you say? That's not information we've heard before. That will do, thank you. Now, according to our laws, the defense must have the opportunity to cross-examine witnesses at least once. Therefore, I call upon these witnesses now for a formal testimony. I presume the prosecution has no objection. None whatsoever, my lord. Good. Then you will give your account of events on the night in question to the court now. Yes, my lord! God, he yells so much. How does he keep up his voice, man? The catastrophic night. It was around 9 o'clock that evening when I visited my neighbor and took some tea with me as a gift. We had a heated literary debate over a nice hot drink, after which I went back to my room at around 11. Ah, my tea was completely harmless. He couldn't have locked the door behind me otherwise, could he? The stitching takes some time to have an effect on the body. People don't keel over immediately after taking it. I would love to know how to pronounce that poison, please. The victim could have been perfectly able to lock the door after his guest left. The argument still stands. Yes, I see. It all seems relatively straightforward. Excuse me, but the testimony does raise one rather crucial point, I think. Mr. Natsumi claims his tea to have been harmless, presumably though. The teacups have been examined for traces of the poison, haven't they? Why didn't I think of that? Well, as it happens, no. We haven't been able to. Did I hear you correctly, Inspector? Scotland Yard has failed to examine this suspect's substance. How could you have overlooked something so important? Isn't that the first thing you should have done? My learned Nipponese friend is falsely incensed. The inspector said Scotland Yard was unable to examine the tea, not that it was overlooked. Unable, but why? It's simple enough, there was none left, not a drop. Someone must have been very thirsty indeed. With current scientific techniques, it's not possible to test for poison under such circumstances. We only need a drop, but that one drop does actually have to exist, funnily enough. He's got a point. The lack of examination notwithstanding, it appears nothing other than the tea passed the victim's lips on the night in question. I see, thank you. The matter is clear. Cast your eyes over the jury, my learned friend. What? You can see it in their faces, I'm sure. The recognition of the accused guilt. Your client's fate is all but sealed. Ay, ay, ay. In mere moments from now, you will lose, and your compatriot will be damned for all eternity. He's right. I can feel all 6 of the jurors looking daggers at me. But I can't let them beat me down. I won't. Counsel for the defense, proceed with your cross-examination. Yes, my lord. So all we have to do is prove that it was not poisoned. But how? Alright, start pressing then. Were you and your neighbor good friends then? Ah, no! We weren't friends. Not at all. Not at all. Never, ever. A simple no would have sufficed. Then, why did you decide to pay him a visit? Mr. Shamspeare fancies himself as having great literary knowledge. As a fellow scholar of English literature, we find much to talk about together. Come now, no Nipponese could understand the finer points of English literature. And on the night in question, that was the topic of conversation as well, I presume. Man, fucking Van Zeeks is super racist. He's so racist, it's like blatantly racist. It was the day of my last trial when I was acquitted. I just arrived back at my lodgings when I ran into Mr. Shamspeare outside in the street. It was around 6 o'clock. We exchanged 1 or 2 pleasantries, but it soon turned into a heated discussion. He was on his way out at the time, though. So I promised to visit his room that evening at 9 to continue our debate. But did I have ill intentions? No! Not 1, not 2, not any. Not at all. Never, ever. A simple no would have sufficed, I feel. Then tell the court what did happen when you visited the victim's room. Literary debate over a nice hot drink. A literary debate about Shakespeare works, I think you said, didn't you? Shakespeare? Ah, very worthy topic of conversation, I must say. Oh yes, my lord. Romeo and Juliet. Who was stronger? It was a profoundly pleasurable parley. Romeo and Juliet? Who was stronger? I know I'm gonna regret asking this, but how did the debate go? Well, we both agreed that we would reach a conclusion more quickly with a reenactment. So we battled it out in a Greco-Roman style, naturally. What? Mr. Shamspeare had all sorts of costumes in his room for just such a contest. So when you say a reenactment, you mean you were actually in costume? He as Romeo and I as Juliet. And after a vigorous wild tussle, I as Juliet came out on top. A victory I'll cherish forever. I dare not imagine the terrible scene of carnage. The fact remains that it was you who prepared the tea and took it to the victim, correct? I boiled the water in my room and made a pot to take with me. I'd heard that he was too poor to have tea himself, you see. It's true, there was no sign of any tea leaves in the man's room. I wanted to do something nice, to be friendly. So why is everyone looking at me with such suspicion? My tea was harmless, of course it was! And do you have any basis for that statement, witness?
Hold it!
I like how the conversation's flowing right now. But I can't believe he did a reenactment. Can you imagine Mr. Natsumi wearing Juliet's costume? Like, realistically speaking, that must have been interesting. Yes, there was not a drop of tea left in the victim's room anywhere, was there? That's correct. Anyone would think the fellow had never had a pot of tea before. He must have licked it dry. Which is a pity, because one drop is all we would have needed to analyze it for poison. And you say that you returned home to your room at 11 o'clock, Mr. Natsumi? Yes, definitely. By heaven and earth, I swear it. Hi, Zoe. Long time no see. The landlord was able to verify that, as it happens. He confirmed that the defendant went back to his room at 11 that night. And how was the landlord able to attest to this? He, said it was the lamps, I believe. The lamps, Inspector? When tenants return to their rooms and start using gas, the lamps in other parts of the house flicker. Yes, Mr. Garrideb seems to pay a lot of attention to the comings and goings of his tenants. There's only one key to Mr. Shamspear's room, I know that for certain. So he must have locked the door himself from inside his room. The victim has confirmed that to be the case, yes. So I'm right, my tea was harmless, completely harmless. If you take poison, you die. Everyone knows that. It's not that simple, I'm afraid. What do you mean? I need more information on what the hell this poison is. Stitchnine? I can't pronounce it, dude. How long does it take for symptoms to appear, then? According to the coroner I was speaking to at the yard, about 30 minutes after the poison's consumed. Then the victim suffers violent convulsions, cramping, and stiffness, and eventually dies from asphyxiation. Damn! So there's a 30-minute interval between when the poison is ingested and the onset of symptoms, but if he actually took that poison, why is he still walking around alive? There seems to be a lot of different types of poison in the world, that's for sure. Oh man, you have no idea. Oh dear. Death by poisoning again. It's always so awful. 30 minutes is a long time. Certainly long enough for the victim to have locked the door behind the accused after he left. You can't deny that, and it further degrades Soseki-san's alibi. I have the medical report from the doctor who examined the victim here, my lord. It spells it out, really. The accused is the only person who could have done it. Very well, the court will add this report to the court record as evidence. Victim's medical report. A report issued by Scotland Yard's medical officer obviously mentions the poison as well as other details gleaned during the police investigation. Oh yes, I see it here. Delayed onset of symptoms. William Shamspear, age 31, the cause of coma, ingestion of a small quantity of stitchin. Toxic effects present 30 minutes after ingestion. High likelihood of the substance having been mixed with the tea that the victim was drinking, but no sample could be obtained for testing. Investigative conclusions. The poisoning incident occurred at around 1:30 a.m. on the 21st of February. Assessed from the victim's pocket watch, it appears to have broken when the man collapsed after delayed onset of symptoms. No container for the poison was found at the scene. At 1:30? Great.
Hold it!
I don't know where to go with this one. The argument still stands, you say. This is what Mr. Natsumi has been saying, isn't it? The pair of them drank tea together that night. So if there's poison in it, the victim wouldn't have been able to lock the door after the accused left later on. Exactly! Me and my tea are innocent. Sweet and innocent, I tell you. I'm afraid, sir, that doesn't follow. You see, stitch-in is a slow-acted poison. In other words, it takes time for symptoms to appear. So you could have left the room up to 30 minutes after the victim drank the tea. And as long as you did that, Mr. Shamspear could have locked the door after you'd gone. But no! We drank the tea straight away! The battle over whether Romeo and Juliet was stronger, that came after the tea. Do you have any evidence to support that statement? In my great homeland, the Empire of Japan, we have a saying, drink tea while it's hot. Sure, a proverb would satisfy the prosecution. I'm afraid there's no conclusive proof to support the defendant's assertion. On the contrary, there are sufficient grounds to infer his guilt in this matter. No! Poor guy. That's the extent of their testimony, is it? If I could voice a personal opinion, Mr. Naruhodo? Of course, go ahead. Mr. Natsumi is arguing for his innocence so adamantly and so persistently, yet Inspector Gregson just brushes what he says aside. It's really quite infuriating. I agree, so we need to find an inconsistency in what the inspector is saying, I think. I'm afraid so. As things stand, the jurors are sure to find Mr. Natsumi guilty. As I see it, what we need to focus on is the poison in the tea. Let's listen carefully to this testimony again. Yes. Takes some time to affect the body. They don't keel over immediately. Victim was perfectly able. The argument still stands. That's the thing, though. What argument are we trying to force here?
Hold it!
Wait, why did I do that? I don't want to hold it. Takes time to affect the body. People don't keel over immediately after taking it. But the only thing I have that could back up that is this. Which doesn't make sense to use that against him at the same time? I'm not sure. I don't have Bomb here to help me. Bomb, where are you? Oh, so is my live stream working? Looks fine. The victim would have been perfectly able to lock the door after his guests left. The argument still stands. Does it, though? I'm gonna hit a game with a save because this is one of those weird things where I'm like, I don't actually know what the answer is. It's so weird because I'm looking at the evidence we have. I'm like, I can't use this because there's no link. I can't use the bar of soap because we haven't talked about the bar of soap. I can't use the medical report unless I use it against this specific statement, and I don't know about the teacups. Teacups is the only one I feel like is up in the air.
Objection.
It's not that though. Bum 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 ba da da bum 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 ba dum bum. Do I use that?
Objection.
Okay, so it is that one. The argument still stands, you say? I think not, Inspector. Come again? I think you'll find that you've overlooked a very significant chronological inconsistency here. Yeah, the thing that happened at 1:30. A what? What are you on about? According to this report, The victim must have consumed the poison at around 1:30 in the morning. And yet, the defendant, Mr. Natsumi, left the victim's room at 11. Yes, that's right. There's more than 2 hours of missing time there. No. In other words, if there was poison in the tea that Mr. Natsumi brought to the victim's room, how could the victim have fallen ill to it 2.5 hours after the defendant left? Why are they both confused? Why do they both react to that? Defense's argument is entirely reasonable. How do you respond, Lord Van Zeeks? With a drink. Pray forgive the discourtesy if my mind has wandered. I was considering what cuisine would best complement the contents of my hallowed chalice this luncheon. How could it have happened, you ask? I do hate to shatter illusions, but my Nipponese friend appears to be chasing a phantom idea. A phantom? Is it so hard to imagine that the victim drank his tea after the accused had left? For example, at the time stated in the medical report, yes, at around 1:30. Mr. Natsumi brought the tea with him to drink together with his neighbor, and in Japan there is a well-known saying, drink tea while it's hot. That's not gonna work. Why would if a proverb wasn't gonna work the first time, why would it work a second time? In my country, there's an even more apt saying. There is nothing more refreshing than cold tea. The point is, if there was such a long gap, there may be other ways to explain how the victim became to be poisoned, other possibilities. What sort of possibilities, Counsel? Well, for example, the man could have had another visitor. Another visitor. That's a very bold assertion, my learned friend, from someone who has nothing to substantiate it. Or the victim could have taken the poison of his own volition. You suggest this may have been a suicide, Counsel. Mr. Shamspear has categorically denied suicide. The idea can and must be discounted. But he could be lying. What is... Mr. Naruhodo, what happened? Is something wrong, Lord Van Zeeks? I was listening to the sound of the carriage pulling up outside the courtroom. Pray forgive the discourtesy. Carriage? What carriage? It would seem that the key player in this case has just arrived. Hmm? Out, brief candle. Life's but a walking shadow. Hi, Mr. Shamspear. A poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage, and then is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. Who, sir, are you? William Shamspear, my lord. Alas, 'twas I undone by these bitter events. I am the victim. What? What's he doing here? What is he doing here? I'm glad he's here, though. The prosecution seeks to call this gentleman to the stand. With his testimony, my learned friend's futile resistance will be utterly crushed. You're calling him as a witness? Very well, counsel. I grant your request with interest. I'm curious to discover what the court shall hear from the victim himself. I remember we met this guy once during the first game. I don't remember which case it was. But I never thought that he would pop up again. So that's interesting for me to see. Happy I am, Shamspear, to regale thee with my tale of woe, my lord. But I still have my own tale to tell. My own tale of worse woe. I can regale the court with the tale of my perfect innocence in perfect English. That will do, Mr. Natsumi. Let the court now hear from the victim. Hey, who are you? What are you doing here? Alright, so that's Mr. Shamspear. But who's that other man beside him? Yes, I feel sure that we've caught a glimpse of this man before. State your names and occupations for the court, please, witnesses. A writer of words so sweet, they do scent the breeze, an inventor of ideas so profound, they compose the earth. The unrivaled poet, the unmatched scribe William Shakespeare, were the great bard to be recalled to life anew. Lo, what a magnificent man! Good fellows, I am he who ponders such a miracle, William Shamspear. Oh, the name is Meterman. Adron B. Meterman. I work for the Altamont Gas Company East End Branch Office. Ah, I remember now. It was yesterday on Briar Road. Oh yes, she's right, it's him. But what? Why is he a witness? Oh, what's this? What's this man doing over there? It looks like he's trying to see into Soseki-san's lodgings. Is something wrong, Mr. Naruhodo? Hey, buddy, what are you doing over there? And then he is shocked and he runs the fuck away. Does a JoJo pose and poof. Yes, we spotted him outside Mr. Garridub's house that morning. And he's a gas company employee? What does he have to do with this case? So, Mr. William Shamspear, you are the victim in this miserable affair, correct? Oh heaven, oh hell, do you command me to remember that sweet poison that didst cross me and cross mine innocent lips? I subpoenaed him for the trial with his doctor's permission, naturally. Hearing the testimony, the aggrieved will remove any room for doubt from the jurors' minds, I'm sure. I don't like where this is going. I don't like where this is going to be going. Behold, you have only to arrange the letters of my name to see that me's a seraph, an angel indeed. Huh? S-H-A-M. Oh my god, he's right. That's amazing. I don't think that could... Wow. I'm surprised that they managed to make that work. This makes me wonder what his name sounds like in Japanese, and if the pun still holds up. Thus be I, noble of mind, sweet of nature, and verily honest of heart, as all heavenly angels be. Because there isn't less... because there isn't... oh my god. Because there isn't a less contrived meaning in your name. No, not at all. The jurors seem to be very, very moved by this man, I'm afraid. They're actually taking his seraph anagram idea seriously? I'm surprised, actually. Thank you, witnesses, for your illuminating introductions. But my lord, what's the man next to Mr. Shamspear doing here? The gas man, I mean. What? Me? Well, now. Allow me to enlighten my learned friend. Do you recall, I presume, your earlier impertinence, when you suggested that the victim had another visitor to his room on the night in question, and moreover, that the victim is a compulsive liar? What? No, I didn't quite say that. This young chin-stroker here is here to controvert your wild claims conclusively. Is that not so, Mr. Meterman? Hang on. No, I'm just here. I hereby call for your former testimonies. You will tell the court as lucidly as possible what happened on the night in question. One may smile and be a villain. Yes, it doth pain me, but let the truth be spoken. The truth of that wintry night of my discontent. This is weird. I wonder if that other guy has something to do with it then. The snow lay about. My neighbor did cometh in the evening, bearing a gift of tea. But merry bitter was his drink, and when he left, I did fall prostrate on my table. Plus the tea alone did pass my lips that late hour, not else. I was outside this bloke's window in the freezing cold all night, keeping an eye on his room. No one else visited his room but that short little round black Eastern feller. Huh. Wait, what did you say? You were keeping an eye on Mr. Shamspeare's room all night? That's right. Of course, the bloke's window's all but blocked up, isn't it? But there's a little gap in the bricks where you can see into the room. Well, I spent the night trying to keep my teeth from chattering as I peered in through that. Yeah, that's the question I would ask. The question is, sir, why? Ah, well now, that's because he's on my list. What a piece of work is a man. Wherefore wouldst thou not stare in wonderment? What are you talking about? This buzzing busybody hath not part in this play. I pray thee, pay him no heed, make no more ado about his tedious words. What'd you say about me? Calm yourself. This court is concerned with what happened in the night in question. Nothing more. Indeed, that is so. And, as the testimony we have just heard clearly reveals, there was no one other than the accused present at the time who could have carried out this crime. I don't like where this is going. Well, I believe this may be the final testimony of the trial. Now, counsel, the defense may proceed with the cross-examination. Yes, my lord. It's not gonna go well. Alright, let's start pressing then, try to figure out what the hell we're trying to get, and try to see what information we can understand for this guy. To be clear, by neighbor, you are referring to the defendant, Mr. Natsumi. Oh, indeed, sire. Perchance thou wouldest that I call him the man from upstairs. And at what time did the mustachioed Nipponese visit you in your room? Our meeting was promised for the hour of 9, and lo did he come to tender a gift of fragrant tea. Details which are in accordance with the defendant's own testimony, yes. And we were embroiled in such a literary debate as history have not seen before. By which I presume he means the discussion about who was stronger, Romeo or Juliet. I, Shamspeare, did play the part of young Romeo, whilst my neighbor played the fair Juliet. Hi, D&G. How you doing, man? D&G. Each of us dressed as would our characters be to bring right weight upon our merry experiment. How you doing, by the way? I dare not imagine the scene. Frailty, thy name is woman. Canst thou imagine how dismayed I was? Yes, I had heard of the Eastern art of jujitsu, but ne'er did I dream thou'd be a skill practiced by the comely maiden. Juliet beat Romeo up? This is not helping our case. I believe the court has heard enough about your earth-shattering literary debates. Perhaps you could reiterate your statement about the tea that the accused brought to your room. Just watching your Stardew Valley video. The last stream? Oh my god. I was laughing way too hard during that Stardew Valley stream. And then my internet decided to be a piece of crap. I never knew the Stardew Valley could have such desynchronization between players. It was so funny. It was great. I loved it. I have to make a clip out of that at some point. I just haven't gotten around to it. I have the video downloaded and everything. I just gotta do the clip. My liege, I am thy servant. Gladly I would do thy bidding. But marry, bitter was his drink.
Hold it!
Let me stop you there. Mr. Natsumi left your room at 11 o'clock, but it wasn't until after 2 that the poison made you collapse. That amounts to more than 3 hours of missing time. What is that little dance? What is that dance? If the defendant had really put the poison into your tea, that 3-hour window of time is something you're gonna have to explain. Gladly. 'Tis an easy task. What? I did drink of the tea not while my guest did his tarry, but after you took leave of me. Faith, 'twas stone cold, but at 1 hour past midnight, verily my lips were parched.
Objection!
Huh. Shamspear is so weird. I love it, though. Because he's also literally talking like Shakespeare would. I'm actually kind of curious if someone has done, like, a check on how many words Shamspear uses throughout this trial. Because they seem to all be very unique. I feel like I haven't read the same word more than, like, a few times so far. That doesn't sound normal. Nay, 'tis quite ordinary, sire. After all, thou wouldst recall our fiery debate. Amidst such argument, there'd be no time for fiery tea. Romeo and Juliet again. And who was stronger? Mr. Shamspear, in summary, allow me to confirm. Did you not come here with the intention of naming your attacker? But of course, my liege. 'Twas the stupid lover of words did attempt to shuffle me off this mortal coil. See what I mean? Look at that entire sentence. He's used so many different words so far that it may as well be Shakespeare's goddamn reincarnation. Ugh, we all know what that means.
Hold it!
So, you didn't have any kind of evening meal? Dinner? Supper? Ha! Fie on luxury, fie on gluttony. To eat thrice daily is but a waste of time. You're malnourished, man. Sorry? I would that my belly were full, no more oft than the sun doth rise. Well, most heroic eating habits, I must say. Night and day do I fill my hours with learned study of the great bard and playwright. Hence it is that there doth not in my chamber be... Would you recommend this game? I would. I would recommend this game. But I also recommend every one of the Ace Attorney games, even the Professor Layton and the versus Ace Attorney crossover game. All of them are fantastic. Hence it is that there doth not in my chamber be more than costumes of mine arts. That would appear to be the case, as even a rodent was found starved to death in your room. Now I think of it, it's not just the food that was conspicuously missing from that room, is it? I don't recall seeing a single player script anywhere. For I have devoured them all. What? He's got a point, though. Usually I skip breakfast and lunch. The most I've done is skip breakfast. But I end up having, like, a snack, like, around 10. So it kind of makes up for it. You've eaten them? Every word be within my skull. Didst thou imagine otherwise? Right. That wasn't misleading at all. Now, could you turn around, do you think? Which brings us to the conclusion that the only way the poison could have passed the victim's lips is in the tea.
Hold it!
This weird-ass man watching outside like some kind of creep. But the windows of that house all have been filled in. A historical artifact of the now defunct window tax, which I still can't believe they had. What's the plot of this game? I don't know what the plot of the game is, if I'm gonna be real honest. There is a very big overarching plot, but I've only been fed scraps of that overarching plot, so I don't know the actual overarching plot yet. It's been building up to it, so I have these bits and pieces of it, but I don't know. I don't know the answer to that right now. At best, I could be like, oh yeah, I know about the Morse code, I know about 4 different names, I know that there's some government secrets. That's it. That's all I got. I haven't gotten everything else. And that was only what I gleaned from the first 5 cases of the first game. This is the second game in the series. And I'm still wondering to myself, when am I ever going to learn about what's going on? Because so far, almost every case has been reaching up to this point. Which is amazing, because technically, when you think about it, this is case 7 of the game. Even though it's case 2 of the second game. The first bunch of Ace Attorney games, they're a lot more grounded in their plot because it's based on the case number you're in. So case 1 is always going to follow case 1, case 2 is always going to follow case 2, plot for case 3 is still case 3, etc, 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 right? You can follow the plot super easily with those earlier games. But so far, the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles has been like, it's been building up. So I don't know what the full plot is yet. And I like it. Yeah, you're right there, all bricked up horribly. But as it happens, there's a little part of the brickwork at the bottom corner of the hat that's been opened up. I was looking in through that gap. Oh yeah, it's very interesting. You gotta... I would definitely start with the first Ace Attorney. There is an Ace Attorney trilogy that has the first 3... I want to say it's the first 3 games of the series. And all remastered, of course. Well, remastered graphics. Okay, remastered graphics, quote unquote. So if you wanted to start somewhere and get used to the Ace Attorney games in general, start there. But if you wanted to jump in straight to this one, there's no problem with that either. Yes, there were a few bricks loose, weren't there? And for some strange reason, a couple of bars of soap lined up on the ledge outside as well. I don't like going around poking my chin in other people's business, especially on freezing cold nights. But them's my orders, so that's what I'll keep doing. As long as there's breath in my body. What's with all the theatricals today? Out of interest, Mr. Meterman, after the accused had left and returned to his own lodgings, did you see the victim leave the room at all? No, he never left. He was in that room the whole time as far as I'm concerned. And we can therefore discount the possibility of suicide. How can you be sure of that? The police carried out a thorough investigation of the scene and found no receptacle for the poison. And since we know the victim didn't leave his room and hence didn't dispose of the poison's container himself, it's clear that this was no attempted suicide. Only the culprit could have removed the receptacle. Yes. Lucidly explained, counsel. Thank you. It really was. You can't argue with that logic.
Hold it!
Is it referring to Naruhodo? You say a short little round-backed Eastern feller. You sure? So you can't be sure it was the defendant then?
Objection!
How many other short little round-backed Nipponese with a mustache do you think there are in London? Well, of course, it's only a narrow gap and it was quite dark, so I couldn't notice the mustache. But he showed up at around 9, so I'm pretty sure of myself. And when the person you saw arrived, did he and Mr. Shamspear drink tea together? Nah, sorry. I couldn't say. Why not? Because I couldn't see into the room all that well, could I? But what I did see was the silhouette of that little round-backed fella wearing a pretty dress. Then the pair of them started some kind of wrestling match. I tell you, I didn't know what to make of it. Well, mate, it's like 5 in the morning for me, so I'm gonna head out. Just came here to start my day. Alright, DNG. You take it. How do you pronounce your name, by the way, before you go? But also have a good day, and make sure you have some water before you go out. I recommend it. I suppose that was the Romeo and Juliet championship battle going underway. Mr. Meterman, allow me to confirm one final time. Apart from the accused, can you state with certainty that no one else visited the victim on the night in question? It's a gamer tag my cousin made for me when I was little. Ah, so you have pretty much the same thing I have. One of my old gamer tags was, this is super old, but it was Falcon 2330. This is Return to Castle Wolfenstein era. Super old, like maybe 26 years ago, maybe? It's old. Anyway, take it easy, man. You take care. No question. Gasman's honor. Oh? Ah, they're gonna fucking do their verdicts. Well, this game looks fun. I'll definitely consider it. Yeah, get it. It's usually on sale pretty... Actually, I'm pretty sure it's on sale right now because there's a Capcom sale going on Steam. Yeah, check it out. My lord! Goodness me, yes, Mr. Foreman. I've kept my mouth shut and listened up to now, but this has gone on long enough. Are you all with me? Yes! Ah, shit. Are we to understand that you ladies and gentlemen of the jury are in agreement with one another? That you've reached a unanimous decision? Too right we have. Are you all with me? Yes! Wait, no! The defense is in the middle of a cross-examination. To be honest, I was holding out a bit of hope for you, young man. Especially after you identified those few hours that followed the accused live in the victim's room. Yes, the 3 missing hours, as you put it. But in the end, what difference do they make? None, as far as I can see. And since that's now apparent, there's really no reason to delay our decision any longer. Like I was saying before, if I don't take 5 Bob home with me tonight, the missus will blow her top. Hmm? What's that? Sorry, I didn't quite catch what you said. Ay. Very well, let the court be apprised of your decisions. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will state your leanings as to the defendant's culpability.
Guilty!
Ah!
Guilty.
Ah!
Guilty.
Ah!
Guilty.
Ah!
Guilty!
Ah!
Guilty!
Ah! I hate doing summation examinations, man. And it's a cool concept, but I hate them. All of you? Well, it would appear that the jury is indeed unanimous. Man. So, this time at least, it seems justice will be done. All's well that ends well, as they say. This calls for a toast, I feel. To the guilty being punished. Ah! Get up, Mr. Nar. Hold up, please. The trial isn't over yet. What do you mean, Miss Suzato? What about the information I found in this encyclopedia? I can't say that word for some reason. Encyclopedia of British law I have. The obscure right that belongs to the defense in these situations, remember? A summation examination. Yes, that's right. You don't have a jury in Japanese courts, of course. But here in a British court of law, if we can reverse the decisions of a majority of the jurors, we can force the trial to continue. His trial can't end now. Whatever it takes, I just can't let that happen. The defense moves to invoke its right to a summation examination, my lord. Why am I not surprised at my learned Nipponese friend's inability to admit defeat? You choose to cling desperately to some archaic rule you barely comprehend instead of accepting the truth. Certainly no other defense counselor in recent times has exercised the right to a summation examination. Because they all know that once the jury's mind is set, it cannot be altered. Nevertheless, the right remains and must be upheld. The defense counsel's request is granted. Fun fact, I don't know if you know about this fun fact, but in terms of summation examination, it doesn't exist in American court, at least not in the way like this one is. The only thing that a lawyer can do when it comes to asking anything about the jury's decision is, do you agree with your decision? That's the question they have to ask. And there's also another motion which they can use that they can have a juror removed, but I don't remember the specifics on that one. I mean, I don't practice law, to be fair. I don't even have the minor on law that I wanted to get. But I do know that that's one of the things I looked up specifically. That an actual summation examination does not exist in the U.S. court system. At least to the extent like this goes. This court will proceed with the summation examination as outlined in the Encyclopedia of British Law. Thank you, my lord. Are you and your fellows prepared, Mr. Foreman? Believe me, my lord, we know all about this young lad's tenacity. And we're ready for it. Very well. In that case, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I hereby call upon each of you to state the grounds upon which you find a defendant guilty of the crime for which he stands accused. Well... The jurors' contentions. Okay. The victim may not be well off, but he's a noble man and straight up. There's no reason to doubt the man. Well, I do declare the good gentleman has no reason to lie. In fact, I think he's rather splendid. Oh, Jesus. Just look at the accused by comparison. He's Japanese, stoops all the while, and has a mustache. Very fishy. Wow. I wouldn't know that, Lo. I live in London. The reason I'm still here is because I'm finishing up breakfast even though I usually don't have it. Hey! At least you're eating the breakfast. There's no evidence to suggest the gangling actor is a fraudsman, for now at least. I really don't care. Like, I just need this trial to end quickly. Motherfucker. 3 hours of missing time is nothing when you reach my age, you know? Nothing at all. That is not a good summation examination. I knew it. Every single one of them seems completely convinced. It would seem that all the jurors have come to the conclusion that Mr. Shakespeare is a fine, upstanding, and honest citizen. If you ask me, they've all been bewitched by his strange theatrical movements. And sadly, nothing Mr. Natsumi said appears to have registered at all. Well, here goes. Let's not forget. I pleaded with the jury on Saseki-san's behalf before and it worked, so you never know. Before we begin, it might be an idea for me to remind you exactly how a summation examination works, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh. Well, you're still very new to British law, after all. That's true, I suppose, and Saseki-san's fate is entirely in my hands now, too. There's always a chance I might have forgotten some crucial detail. Perhaps I should hear Suzato-san out. I wonder, should I let her talk me through it again, or not bother? I mean, I know how it works, but I'm curious about the dialogue. It's like, let me go through it. Alright, so, if you remember, the key to change in the jurors' minds is things that they say themselves. Yes, it's coming back to me. First, it's important to listen very carefully to each juror's statement. Then, if it sounds as though one of those statements might contradict another, I have to pit the corresponding two jurors against each other to prove one or the other of them was wrong. Yes, that's right. In many ways, it's very similar to a normal cross-examination. Alright then, all that remains now is to do it. Without further ado, please, counsel, proceed with the summation examination. I can't say the same thing about summation examinations in other court systems, though. I don't know the answer to that. I imagine it doesn't exist, but I didn't look that up. Yes, my lord. Jury examination! The defense's rebuttal. I can still press them though, thankfully, but I don't think Mr. Foreman's gonna change his mind. Well, there are plenty of people in London who seem noble but poor. Couldn't some of them also be liars? I've no doubt about it. Like that shaky client of yours, for example. Absolutely not. Mr. Natsumi's no liar. Look, the point is, the only thing that passed the victim's lips that night was that Japanese man's tea. When you take the gas man's testimony into account as well, the truth couldn't be any clearer. Ah, well, that's alarmingly logical. Well, let me be frank here. I'm a gentleman, with a gentleman's values. If it turns out that the old Shakespearean chum is a rotten liar after all, I'd gladly change my decision about the defendant. And I'm sure my fellow gentlemen on the jury would do the same, isn't that right? Oh, yes, perhaps. Though I don't see it happening. Eh? What's that? Elderly gent on the end here, you know? You'll have to speak up. Look, I really don't care about all this nonsense. I just need this trial to be over. Again, he said the same shit. How many gentlemen do we actually have in the jury, then? Right, sir, I may hold you to that. Don't forget what you said. Alright, if you can show me that the victim's a liar, I'll reconsider my position. Alright, so they changed it. Cool. Are you saying you believe the man to be trustworthy because he's rather splendid? No, that's not what I said. The point is, the man is a victim here. What reason would he have to lie? And yes, he is rather splendid. So you say, yet again. Meanwhile, the man who stands accused behaves so suspiciously. It's exhausting to look at him. Oh my god, I really do have to agree with them too on that one. I'm afraid he's not splendid at all. Splendid logic there, madam. Thank you so much.
Hold it!
No, not one of those things is a reason to find the man guilty. But he is fishy. There's no point dancing around the fact. He's Japanese, he has a mustache, and he stoops. You see, you arrive at the conclusion in just 3 steps. 3 steps, like a waltz, in fact. You know, the more I think about it, the more this trial seems like a dance. You seem to be several steps ahead of yourself, though, and you're on the wrong foot. No, there's nothing but circumstantial evidence here. There's no actual proof of the defendant's guilt. But the victim's version of events is backed up by what the big-chinned man next to him says, isn't it? 1, he saw the Japanese man there. 2, he saw no one else. And 3, he saw the Japanese man there. Oh. There's another 3 steps. There's another 3 steps, and this really does seem more like a waltz, doesn't it? Right, and the prosecution will waltz its way to victory if I let you speak much more. So he's not changing his mind.
Hold it!
For now, at least evidence. A fraudsman? What do you mean by that, madam? It really is a most tiresome problem for the company, most irritating. We can be absolutely certain that a customer is stealing from us, but without hard evidence, we can't even threaten to take action for fear of being sued. I'm sorry, you've lost me a little there. Who are you? I'm the wife of Augustus Altamont, owner of the Altamont Gas Company. What the heck? Good gracious, Altamont Gas, you say? Gas is the future of energy in this country and around the globe, where proper handling is essential. As I'm sure our employee from the East End branch office would be the first to agree. Absolutely, Lady Quinby, gotta be used properly. Altamont Gas is the best in the world, of course. It sounds like Ultimate Gas. Ultimate Gas, you know? I think we may have solved the mystery of the bow from earlier, Mr. Naruhodo. The bow. Right, he bowed in deference to his employee's wife, did he? So would I be right in assuming that the reason Mr. Meterman was watching that what Mr. Shamsbury was up to in his room, I'm afraid that there's no end to the lengths the population of the East End will go in order to steal our gas, so I really have no choice when the company identifies somebody as a possible fraudsman. But to dispatch a worker to watch the suspect day and night, we're very thorough in our investigations. So you mean Mr. Shamsbury is I wouldn't come out and say it in public, but you can finish that sentence with a grubby little gas thief. Damn. You have noticed the public gallery in here, have you? The eye of man hath not heard, the ear of man hath not seen. Faith, wouldst thou wound me with thy words, were I were to let them penetrate the skin. But seraphs hear not insults, only choirs of angels in song. We may not have evidence yet, but my workers won't stop buzzing around you until they find it. And when they do, you'll find yourself blasted back to your angelic heights in an Altamont gas explosion. That's a threat, girl. So Mr. Shamspeare has been stealing gas. I wonder, juror number 4, if you wouldn't mind adding that information to your statement. My pleasure. Was it a bit about ripping the thief apart you enjoyed? A little before that part about abject violence, if it's not too much trouble. Yes, of course. This could be it. This could shift the balance. I was not expecting her to be here. The victim puts on a fine performance, but in reality he's a common thief of my company's gas. There's like 2 different people I could pit up against here. I could pit her. I can pit juror number 4's statement against juror number 2. He has no reason to lie. In fact, he's rather splendid, but in reality, he steals gas. Or, if you can show me the victim's a liar, I'll reconsider my opinion. So we'll start with the first one. These 2 statements clearly contradict each other. Good gracious! To whose statements do you refer to, counsel? Juror number 1. Eh? What are you yelling about, lad? I presume you've heard juror number 4's statement, made by the wife of the owner of Altamont Gas. Well, yes. The victim, who you claim to be a noble, straight-up man, in fact turns out to be a common thief. So the good lady says, but there's no evidence, is there? You and I both heard them say as much. It's true, we don't have evidence as such, just yet. But the claims aren't baseless, you know. What? You heard me. Seeing as his operation has already been compromised, I would suggest that the court hears testimony from our East End branch office employee over there. I'll do whatever you say, my lady. Gasman's honor. Juror number 1, you say you're a man of your word. If I could show that Mr. Shamspeare was a liar, you assured me that you would reconsider your decision about the defendant's guilt. Yes, I did say that. As a man of honor, I'll hold to it, as I'm sure the other gentlemen of the jury will. Me? Oh, well, yes. Now that we've found out the man's a liar, perhaps we ought to consider the matter further. What? Well, if I'm perfectly honest, I haven't heard half of what you've all been saying. So if this means your recap a few points, that would suit me down to the ground. Oh no, I'm not having any part of this. I want this trial over and done with. In that case, I shall change my leaning. So, Mr. William Shamspeare, if that is your real name, we of the jury demand to know exactly what kind of a man you really are. Damn. That wasn't too bad of a summation examination. That's 4 jurors. 4 for not guilty. Yes, Mr. Naruhodo. Victory. Order! Order! Well, this is quite extraordinary, I must say. As a result of the defense's summation examination, the jury's leaning has changed. Now only 2 jurors say guilty, whilst 4 say not guilty. I therefore declare this court to be in a state of disaccord, and order the trial to continue. He's annoyed about that. You have spoiled the bouquet, Mr. Shamspeare. The ladies and gentlemen of the jury now find they are unable to trust you, the victim. But you gods will give us some faults to make us men. So God mend me, I do swear. This gas man speaketh that which concerns of most, not but gas, not but thin air. Aye, it burneth bright a while, but it hath no substance, and if doth reek foul. Oi, what did you say? Do I take it, Mr. Shamspeare, that you deny the allegations of gas thievery? Most heartily, my lord. Hast thou forgot, I am as a seraph, an angel, noble of mind, sweet of nature, and verily, honest of heart. God, I hate this guy. Ah, you flowery-mouthed, pompous beanpole, just because I haven't got the evidence yet. Mr. Shamspeare, if, in fact, you are not noble of mind, sweet of nature, or honest of heart, if you are a liar, then your testimony should have no sway in this courtroom. It is my considered opinion that at the present time no other possible culprit of this crime has been identified. All testimony heard by the court thus far heavily implicates the defendant. In short, it would not be unreasonable at this stage for me to rule on the case. Oh no. However, in light of the fact that the jury has expressed concern about the fidelity of this witness, I believe it would be inappropriate for this court not to pursue the point further. I assure you, my lord, that would be a waste of the court's time. The gas and this case are unrelated. Juror number 4. Yes. Didn't you say before that although you had no hard evidence to prove this man had been stealing gas, you have strong grounds for suspecting him? That's right, we do. Don't we, worker? Absolutely, Lady Quinby. Gasman's honor. Very well, then. We will hear your testimony now. You will tell the court precisely why you believe the victim, Mr. William Shamspeare, has been stealing gas. Yes, my lord, it'll be my pleasure. On the Altamont gas name, I swear, if I may, my lord. Go ahead, madam. This worker's testimony may have been a significant bearing on the good name of my husband's company. Therefore, I should like to take the stand alongside him in a supervisory role, if you wouldn't mind. What? Woohoo! Oh yeah, sweet as honey. Yeah. Very well. As an exception, I shall honor your request. This is interesting. Thank you, my lord. You wait till the boss gives you an earful. Oh, it's gonna sting. You mark my words. So, you will both testify before the court on the subject of the illegal consumption of the Altamont Gas Company's fuel. Yes. Is that clear, my good man? Clear as Altamont gas, my lady. Which is the clearest in the world. I don't think this is the first time I've ever had a jury member come down to do and testify, I feel. I think. Ow. You think the gas has gone to his head, Miss Susato? I think the man is just a very dedicated employee, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh, I got the hiccups coming back now. Hold on, I'm just gonna... I lost the ability to breathe properly. The Altamont Gas Company's investigation. I'm proud to be the company's... oh god, no, these hiccups are not going to do me favors. I'm proud to be the company's East End branch investigator and meter money collection agent. Altamont gas meters accept through penny bits, each coin giving customers about 2 hours of gorgeous gas. And yet... the meter in Mr. Shamspeare's room didn't have a single coin in it. The meter doesn't appear to have been tampered with, though, and the collection agent has the only key. Interesting. Somehow he's using all the flaming gas he wants without paying a penny. If that's not thieving, what is? Huh. Pray forgive the discourtesy. The irrelevance of this testimony caused me to turn to my hallowed chalice. What do you mean by that remark, Lord Van Zeeks? Did the mustachioed Nipponese poison the gangling excuse for an actor, or didn't he? That is all that should concern this court. And yet now we must listen to this abhorrence. Oh god, the hiccup, man. Clearly what separates the vast British Empire and your Eastern Island nation is more than geographical distance. But this could turn out to be a crucial testimony. The cross-examination must go ahead. Do what you will. Lord Van Zeeks appears to be in a violent mood. Yes, he does. An attempted poisoning and an incident of gas theft with no supporting evidence. It's true that they would appear completely unrelated at first glance, but I wonder. The truth tends to be buried in the most unusual places, and the first step in uncovering it would be to establish just who and what this man really is. Kick upset. Man, it would be so much easier just to not talk and just hiccup my way through this.
Hold it!
So does that mean you enter people's houses in order to empty their gas meters? That I do. I have to try to catch people when they're in. Then I ask permission to come inside and do my business. Does that mean you've been into Mr. Natsumi's room before, as well as that of Mr. Shamspear? Well now, interesting you should bring that up, because I couldn't believe how little money was in his meter. I mean, how the pair of them survived the winter is beyond me, it really is. Knowing Mr. Natsumi, he probably spends all his gas money on books. And when he's finished reading them, he probably burns them for warmth. You will kindly reiterate your statement about the gas meters themselves, Mr. Meterman. Not much to say, really, but as you wish. That's interesting. Ugh. So wait, is the first one... Yeah, okay, repress that one. Wait, did I go through that? My brain is not working. Okay, never mind. I thought he had to change his testimony there for a second. I can't take it. So all London houses that have a gas supply are fitted with these gas meters, are they? They're the latest model, the height of technology, developed by our company, Altamont Gas. And anyone who uses our gas will have one of these meters in their property, yes. So if a 3-pence coin gives 2 hours of gas, most people use about 3 coins in a night. A bit more than that usually, if they have both gas lights and a gas stove, that is. Thinking about it, Soseki-san doesn't have a fireplace in that room of his, does he? Some people still choose to use candles, of course, and only have a gas for heating. Ah yes, I do remember seeing candles in Mr. Natsumi's room, actually. And how does the money in the meter get back to you at the gas company? Every 3 days, gas men like me visit properties on the gas supply and empty the meters of coins. I must say, the design and manufacture of the new meter cost the company an awful lot of money. But happily, it did put a stop to people not paying their dues, for the most part. Ah, because they have to pay in advance, you mean? Yes, exactly right. Oh god, I'm about to stop streaming because the hiccups are hurting. Help. Help me. Help me. Doesn't stop. Out of interest, how long has this been going on? Weeks and weeks. It's been pinching gas off us for ages. And you examined the meter in Mr. Shamspear's room, I take it. Naturally, we took it off the wall and went over it with a fine-tooth comb, and found nothing suspicious at all, I presume. No, I'm afraid we didn't, which is exactly why I demanded a new type of meter to be produced. One with an indestructible lock, the Sham Spear Special. That sounds like it would have cost an awful lot of 3 penny pieces. But even after all that, the rascal's meter was still empty. I'll never forget the humiliation. When I opened up the money box and found it bare, you what? I said, you what? And the look on his face, this smarmy smile of his. I pulled the meter straight off the wall and took it back to the office. But you know what? Nothing. Not a trace of it being jemmied up open anywhere. Not a single sign. And what's happening to my salary as a result? Down by 3 shillings a day, that's what. A life-threatening situation in a number of ways. Incidentally, what became of that meter? Nothing became of it. I've still got it. Oh. Right here. No wonder they call you Meter Man. I think it would be prudent for the court to sequester this item while the trial is ongoing. A meter that dispenses gas for a set time after a coin is inserted. It sports a very strong lock developed especially with Mr. Shamspear in mind. Definitely. Alright, let's take a look at this. That's a very sturdy looking padlock, isn't it? And the money box is sealed with beeswax too. So if Mr. Shomes were to get up to any mischief, he'd be found out immediately. Mr. Naruhodo, mischief of that kind is not the sort of thing that Mr. Shomes would. You know, you didn't finish that sentence, don't you? You didn't finish that sentence, don't you? Well, anyway, it's understandable that the gas company will want to safeguard the money that's rightfully theirs. But it does feel a little over the top, perhaps, doesn't it? I don't know, it's about their shit. Oh, Christ oh fucking mighty. What the heck is that? Oh, what's... Have you spotted something, Mr. Naruhodo? Just here, there's a little hole, do you see? Goodness, you're right, I wouldn't have noticed. It's not a very neat hole, is it? Not professionally made, I'd say. So you think it might have been opened up by Mr. Shamspear? Possibly. It seems that people at Altamont Gas have missed it. Well, it certainly seems to go all the way through the inside. Yes, but there's no way a coin could fit through here. Through there. That's true, but even so, it seems more than a little suspicious. And there is a tiny hole in its base. What does it mean? Because that's not a hole that you can fit a coin through. I mean, look at the size of the coin hole versus the size of the hole. Unless it's another purpose. Although at first glance, there doesn't seem to be anything unusual about it. Let's move this along, shall we? Continue with your testimony. Though I would say it has as much value as the constants of that meter. Oof. That's a good retort. I'm not going to listen to the testimony anymore. I'm just going to push the objection in. Lady Altamont, I'm afraid to say that this meter clearly does show signs of having been tampered with. What? Get away! I've been over and over that thing. I'm telling you, there's nothing wrong with it. In that case, what do you have to say about that small hole that's been made at the base of the coin box? Oh, what? You're right! You're quite right! There's a little hole there. The meters aren't supposed to have that. None of the others do. In other words, we can assume that Mr. Shamspear secretly opened up this hole himself. Yes, I wouldn't be at all surprised. But why? Yeah, why? I mean, it's tiny. You couldn't get a farthing thing through that. Lady Altamont, I wonder if you could give the court some more details about your meter design. What sort of details? Well, what I'd specifically like to know is how it differentiates coins. Not how it's dismantled. How does the meter tell the difference between different coins? What do you mean? Well, for example, if someone were to put a 1 penny coin, that wouldn't work, presumably, would it? No, of course not. So, well, how does the meter know that that coin it's been fed is a 3 penny bit? I see what you're getting at now. The meter tells coins apart by their shape and size, which includes their thickness. A 3 penny bit is about 3/4 of an inch in diameter. You see, other coins just won't fit. Ah, I see. It's clearly been very well thought out. Ugh. The witness will amend her form of testimony with that information in case it is pertinent. As you wish, my lord. The meter is designed for coins the exact diameter and thickness of a 3 penny. Nothing else will fit. Except... What if it's not... Oh... Should I present that?
Hold it!
I want to press. Hold on. But conversely... And it wouldn't seem that anything matched the 3 pence coin exactly in terms of diameter and thickness could equally well be used. Would that be true? Well, yes, in a way. The weight comes into it in a certain extent as well. We thought of that though anyway. If I find any fake coins inside the box, then I empty the meter. The contract says the customer has to pay 100 times the amount they diddled as a fine. Damn. We live for moments like that. Us gasmen do live for them. It would seem the gas company has thought of everything. Woohoo! Hoorah! Raw for gas, hoorah for cash, Altamount all the way. That's quite enough of that. Remind me, how big are 3 penny bits? About 3/4 of an inch across. What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? Is this 2 centimeters measurement significant? Or perhaps there's some other aspect of the meter's construction that we should be focusing on? Yes, you may be right. Perhaps I should try a different tact here. Like asking about whether the meter can be dismantled for something. I do want to delve deeper into that, but I also have the No, I'm gonna leave that alone. I can't. I'm gonna hit the game with a save, and I'm gonna present the barf, so.
Objection!
No, okay, that's interesting. I'm just gonna load it then. Actually, I don't know if I could keep going, man. These hiccups are killing me. I think I really need to lie down. Okay, you know what? This is gonna be such an awkward spot to leave it. I would have preferred to hit up to be continued portion, but I just can't anymore. So I saved the game. We're gonna leave it there. Okay, these hiccups are horrible. Thank you guys for watching. Tomorrow we have more Ace Attorney, so we'll pick up where we left off. Anyway, subscribe, leave a like, follow on Twitter, join the Discord server. We have one. A link is in the description. Join the Discord server. Come chat with the community, etc., etc. Have a good morning, everyone. Have a good afternoon. Have a good evening, and have a good night. And don't get hiccups. Bye-bye. Bye!